The start has maybe not been what the Alberta Golden Bears wanted, but they are showing signs that they're on the way up in Canada West. Today, another huge test for the Alberta Golden Bears as they take on the UBC Thunderbirds from here at Foot Field on the South Campus of the University of Alberta. Welcome to the broadcast. My name is Doug McLean. I'll be joined momentarily by Dustin Nielsen. We'll have the play-by-play call. The Alberta Golden Bears coming off a 28-18 loss last weekend against the Regina Rams, and they will take on a UBC Thunderbirds team that really took over in the second half against the Saskatchewan Huskies, winning 31-10. And Dustin, when we look at this team 0-3, we were saying off air beforehand, the Bears have to win this game if there's any hope of them looking at Canada West playoffs.
Yeah, as far as must-wins go, this is as close as you can get for the University of Alberta Golden Bears. A victory here would move UBC to 2-2 on the year and put Alberta at 1-3, so it would give them a little bit of hope. But I mean, any win at this point would be big for this program right now. And you know, another thing we were talking about, Doug, prior to coming on the air here, was the fact that their offensive numbers aren't really adding up here. I mean, they're gaining about 440 yards of offense per game, but at the same time, they're not finishing these drives, whether it be turnovers or settling for field goals. They're moving the ball, they're just not putting it in the end zone. And you know, if you can change that once or twice a game, for example, last week, you might have won that football game.
That's right. And two of the best rushing teams in the country, UBC 5th in the country, Alberta 6th. And then the top two run defense teams in Canada West, UBC is second best in Canada, only giving up 49 yards a game, which is unbelievable. And the Golden Bears not bad themselves, only giving up about 130. The other note that we'll touch on as the game gets going here, UBC all kinds of lineup changes. Ben Cummings, their star running back, Canada West All-Star last year, not in the lineup. Travell Pinto, outstanding last weekend against Saskatchewan, not in the lineup. Marcus Davis, not really sure why, didn't play last week against Saskatchewan. He's not in the lineup again this weekend. So three huge weapons for Michael O'Connor out of the lineup here today.
Yeah, I mean, his three most dangerous weapons, not just big weapons. They are his three most dangerous weapons. We watched Travell Pinto. We were in Vancouver last week doing the UBC Huskies game, and Travell Pinto might have been the most dynamic player I've seen play in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, at least for that game, he was absolutely phenomenal. I was looking forward to seeing him here again. It's good news for the Golden Bears. I mean, if you're going to have any chance of beating UBC, you lose your top running back and your top two options at wide receiver for Michael O'Connor, and that could end up coming back to hurt you a little bit. So we'll see. I mean, good programs have guys who can step up. We thought Trey Kellogg was pretty good. Alex Morrison's a big target. He had a 93-yard touchdown to start last week's game. So still have some options, but at the same time missing some key parts. So that could be definitely a storyline that will develop throughout the game here.
We will get to the national anthem and then kickoff between the Golden Bears and the Thunderbirds.
We stand on guard for
Well, it is a beautiful Saturday afternoon at Footfield. Thank you for joining us here on CanadaWest.tv. It's the Golden Bears at 0-3, looking for their first win of the year, taking on the UBC Thunderbirds. UBC heating up a little bit as of late. They are coming in off an impressive 31-10 victory at home last week over Saskatchewan. The Golden Bears were on the road in Regina, and they fell 28-18. Brad Baker trying to get this Golden Bears offense back on track, finish some of the drives, things that we have discussed. No Ben Kopczynski as an answer, or an option, I should say, behind him today. Brendan Guy, first-year quarterback, 6'2" out of St. Albert, will be the backup to Baker today. So it's likely all on the arm of Brad Baker, or maybe more so, you'd like to think maybe the legs of Ed Ilnicki, but going up against this UBC rush defense, that might be highly unlikely today, Doug.
Well, and Ilnicki last week, after a huge game the week before against Saskatchewan on the road in Saskatoon, last week 11 carries for 60 yards. And like you said, Dustin, UBC with as good a run defense as they have, it might be tough sledding. But I wonder, too, with Kopczynski not in the lineup today, does that settle Brad Baker down? Does that give him, hey, this is my show to run? Kopczynski did not throw a pass last week against the Rams. It was Baker's show to run the whole game. So we'll see if that helps Brad Baker know that he's running the whole game for Alberta.
Greg Hutchins will kick this thing away to start the football game. It will be Andre Webster and Adam Zidell back to return here for the University of Alberta Golden Bears. Once again, 0-3 on the year, but in a big way. A win here this afternoon would be a huge momentum boost for this club. As we did mention, UBC's been playing extremely well, but are missing some big-time targets for Michael O'Connor today. Wind will be at Hutchins' back as he gets set to kick this thing off. UBC trying to prove to everyone that they are for real once again this year. This will come down to Zidell just in his end zone, and now he's going to look for a few blocks right up the middle. Zidell, and boy, if he got around that play, he might have opened up even a little bit more room for himself, but he'll go about 27 yards on that return, actually putting his team in a pretty good spot, Doug.
Yeah, good start, and that's key for Alberta, is making sure they have good field position. We saw that the first game here, the season opener, where the Bears struggled to get decent field position, were always seemed like always inside their own 15. So this is a nice start by Zidell.
1st and 10 here for Baker. He'll work from his own 27. He's got Ed Ilnicki to his left. In the shotgun, Baker will be throwing. Ilnicki stays in the block. Baker, far side, has a man wide open. That's going to be complete on the far side of the field. Tyler Henry, who did not play last week, a big catch there, and a big play to open this game for Baker.
And something for UBC that we didn't see a lot last week. The Thunderbirds, I thought their secondary was outstanding last weekend against Kyle Siemens, and you'll see on the replay here, Baker with lots of time, good protection, just finds Henry up the sideline, basically left uncovered in that UBC zone.
Tyler Henry now on the near side of the field here, one of 3 options for Baker. 1st and 10 from the UBC 46. And UBC moves up to the line here defensively. Baker fakes the handoff. He's got some room to run. Baker's got a first down and a little bit more as the UBC defense bit on the handoff, the fake handoff, I should say, to Ed Ilnicki, and you don't see that play work that well that often, Doug.
No, you'll see it here in the replay. Baker on the play action, I think expects to see some white jerseys in his face, but you'll see Griffiths slam down looking at Ilnicki, and that opens up Baker to the outside.
Good idea early, knowing that they're expecting Ed Ilnicki to get the ball quite often here, and a big pickup for Baker against an amazing run defense. Some pressure now as they'll hand this off. Faked again. Baker's got room again. Exact same play. He's got a first down, and he will slide to safety. Pickup of about 15 yards. Back to what worked just moments ago, and they find success again. The Golden Bears marching.
Same thing. He's expecting a receiver to pop open and there to be a Thunderbird defender in his face, but there's no one there. And a nice block downfield. Ben Pasiek able to help out Baker, who slides well past first down yardage. So an impressive opening drive here for Alberta, using play action quite effectively. You got to look at it again to Ilnicki, and same thing. Connor Griffiths bites on that fake to Ilnicki, and you see the nice block downfield by 89 Pasiek, opening up extra yardage for Baker.
I don't know if it's just me. The UBC defense looks a little lackadaisical here in the early going of this football game.
Definitely a little different than what we saw against the U of S last week.
They were tremendous last week.
Unbelievable both defenses, certainly in the first half.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan struggled a bit in the second half, but you're right. And Connor Griffiths, both times, you know he's going to get talked to about that. He's got to make sure he holds that contain on the edge.
1st and 10 now from the UBC 15. This time they'll give it to Elnicki. He's right up the gut, and Elnicki takes it to the house. 4 plays, marching down the field and into the end zone. The University of Alberta striking first early here in the first quarter.
And that's what play action does. It forces UBC to respect the rollout by Brad Baker, and great blocking upfield. You see that kick out block from the left tackle. That's Mark Corte, and that opens up Elnicki. And once he's in open field, no one's going to bring him down. And for an Alberta team that has struggled in the red zone this season, only 38% inside the 20-yard line in terms of cashing in with major scores. And the Bears open up here with a huge touchdown, up 7-0.
And that extra point hammered home by Alex Ingraham, who is handling kicking duties. First year with the Golden Bears, 3rd year of eligibility. And he is in for Brent Arthur today. But a huge start for the University of Alberta Golden Bears. We've been doing games for 6 or 7 years here, Doug, and I can't remember a drive where they took 4 plays, marched down the field, and scored a touchdown.
No, there haven't been very many, especially when you consider the fact against a really solid UBC defense. But that play action worked really effectively, and on that replays, you see the Elnicki touchdown again. Connor Griffiths hesitated. He had to hold that edge, waiting to see if Baker had the ball, and that gave Elnicki that space inside to rumble into the end zone. So play action works essentially 3 times for Alberta.
UBC's defense this year has given up 49 yards on the ground per game. On that opening drive, Alberta ran for 46.
Yeah, like that's. So there you go. There's a huge flip and a confidence boost for an Alberta team that I think confidence wavers a little bit. And Zidell with the kickoff.
Zidell has this bounce down at the 20. That is scooped up and brought back up the near side of the field. Tackle made there defensively for Alberta from Aaron Chabello.
Weather not a huge factor. Nice day here today. It has not been a nice week in Edmonton. Rainy and cold basically every day up until today. So finally the sun's back out. About 10 degrees, winds 14 kilometers an hour, gusting a little bit more to 22. Right now the flags on the goalposts not moving a ton, but they're moving a little bit south to north.
Our first look at Michael O'Connor today, over 400 yards passing last week against the Huskies. And he's through the air early, downfield, has a man, and that's a big hit early on here to Trey Kellogg as he takes it down inside the 40. And you and I were talking that he might be one of the guys that needs to pick up the slack today with a few of their key weapons out.
And Kellogg was very good last week too. O'Connor with a fair amount of time, and he knows it's going to, with Cummings especially out of the lineup, and no disrespect to Corey Nagata, they're going to throw the ball a lot. Part of the fact in doing that is the Bears have the worst pass defense in Canada right now, giving up almost 370 yards a game.
O'Connor in last week's game threw for more yards than he had in the first 2 games of the season alone. Now they'll hand it off to Nagata right up the gut, and he'll pick up about 4 yards on that first down carry. Golden Bears rush defense so far this year has been one of the more impressive traits about this football team.
Second in Canada West, giving up 130 yards a game.
The 2nd and 7, they give Nagata 3 on that first down carry, and he will remain here in behind his quarterback, O'Connor. Marcus Brown, 1-on-1 coverage on the near side of the field, 4 targets to the far right here for O'Connor. And he's going to roll to his right. Looking downfield, O'Connor in trouble, throws it over the top, looking for Kellogg, and it was in and out of his hands. O'Connor took quite a while letting that play develop, moving to his right, Doug.
Well, that's a good point. That's a heck of a play by O'Connor. I know it's an incomplete pass, but he had nothing downfield at all. The Bears actually covered it deep pretty well. And like you said, you see him hold it, and then throws it to the only spot that Kellogg could possibly bring it down. So incomplete, but that's a heck of an effort by Michael O'Connor.
The best look he might have had was to his running back, Nagata, who was kind of out in the open, but he was looking further downfield at the time. So to be a field goal opportunity here for Greg Hutchins, 80% on the year. He's 8 of 10, a long of 41. This one, 45, and it is up. And it is wide right, and that'll be brought out of the end zone by Andre Webster. And then he goes back into the end zone. And UBC was calling for a safety here.
They're going to say it's Alberta ball that he was out. So Webster does get pushed back into the end zone.
May have got away with one there for Andre Webster. Golden Bears, though, will work 1st and 10 here from their own 20. And a good start here, 7-0. A smooth touchdown drive early going for the Golden Bears. And then the defense holding and forcing a 45-yard field goal that was missed by Greg Hutchins. Baker back on the field here. Ilnicki to his left. Fakes the handoff again to Ilnicki. Griffiths in pursuit. Baker down the field. And he had a man, but he just missed him a little bit outside. Nathan Rowe tried to get his hands on that. Even if he would have been able to haul it in, he would have been out of bounds on the play.
And Nathan Rowe is certainly one of the bright spots for the Alberta Golden Bears so far this season. Rookie, he leads the country in yards per game receiving. And that's a tough throw for Baker. Off his rolling against the grain, trying to throw it back to Rowe, who was open. He had gotten past coverage. But Nathan Rowe, first-year player, redshirted last year, first-year player from Calgary.
Burst onto the scene in that home opener with a 109-yard touchdown, and that obviously helps the numbers. But outside of that, he's been very consistent for the Golden Bears. In fact, he's been by far Baker's most reliable target.
He really has. Already 392 yards on the season. And as mentioned, tops in the country in yards per game, 130 so far each night he's been out.
With Rowe continuing to develop and Tyler Henry back in the lineup here this afternoon, and obviously Andre Webster, wherever he's lining up. Few offensive weapons here for Brad Baker this afternoon, who marched his team down the field quickly in the early going of this football game to take a 7-0 lead.
Elliot Graham, the banged-up UBC Thunderbird, you see making his way off there. First-year player who's been outstanding. 13 tackles already this season, had a 107-yard interception return 2 weeks ago in Vancouver against Manitoba, the longest in UBC history and the second longest in Canada West history.
We'll keep tabs on Graham because they lose all those weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Losing him on the defensive side of the ball could certainly hurt them today as well. And now some movement on the Golden Bears. They'll be backed up here a little bit on 2nd down.
That'll make it 2nd and 15 for the Bears, about the 15-yard line.
Using that offensive look where Baker brings everybody up to the line and resets.
Yep.
That's probably tend to get caught on that once or twice a game.
Well, this is a bit, I mean, it's early in the game, and I know the Bears are up 7, but this is a big drive for them because momentum has often been a challenge for Alberta. They'll have decent starts and then sputter along, and so it's about gaining some momentum and not giving the ball right back to UBC.
2nd and 15 now for Baker. Looking to his left. Now comes over the middle. That ball may have been deflected. Either way, it's picked off by Malcolm Lee. Malcolm Lee's going to bring it to the near side of the field, back to the 25, and that's where he will be forced out of bounds. We'll have to get another look at what happened there as that ball was up for the grabs from the moment it left Baker's hands.
Third interception on the season for Baker, and we don't see if there is a deflection, but pretty easy play for Malcolm Lee as it just floated right into his hands, and a huge turnover for Alberta deep inside their own territory, and UBC right back on their offense, right back on the field.
You just talked about momentum and how big it has been for the Golden Bears because they can't get anything going, and that's exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah, just cannot make those kind of mistakes. The edge for the Bears is very minimal.
Now they'll hand it off to Nagata. Nagata, good burst around the line, and he will pick up the first down and a little bit more and march UBC down inside the Golden Bears 15.
Corey Nagata in for what we assume to be the injured Ben Cummings, and Nagata, second-year player from Richmond, BC. Previously played with the Okanagan Sun. Only had 3 carries for 15 yards coming into this ball game today.
Yeah, they used Shane Noel a little bit more than him last week against the Huskies. But Nagata getting a look here, at least in the early going today. Here's O'Connor. He's going to look to the corner of the end zone. That pass just out of the stretch hands of Liam Wishart. Defended well, and a good effort by the receiver to try to bring that in.
A good effort there by Wishart. Nice guy, too. Goes and picks up the ball, gets it for the official. He'll realize he doesn't have to do that anymore. But a good effort and good coverage by Tack Landry. Really step for step, and that forced O'Connor to try to drop into a pretty narrow window.
So it'll be 2nd and 10 here from the Golden Bears 11. Bears defense trying to stop UBC here for a second time here in the first quarter. O'Connor with some time. He's going to look to that same spot again, and that ball broken up defensively. A terrific play made there by Trayvon Walsh, who has 13 tackles on the season and a big pass breakup on that play.
Yeah, again, lots of time for O'Connor, and he tries that corner route again. Good coverage by the Bears. And it's actually Shaden Phillip with the nice effort. Phillip with a huge blocked field goal last week against Regina.
That's the 4th pass breakup of the season for Shaden Phillip. He's got 15 tackles. He's having a great year defensively.
Very good year.
That play kind of sums it up. Hutchins with his 2nd field goal of the game, or opportunity, I should say. Missed the first one from 45, and this one basically a chip shot. He puts it in, so UBC is on the board. But after that turnover, Doug, holding them to a field goal is actually going to be a little bit of a momentum builder possibly here for the Golden Bears defense.
Absolutely. That's a really nice stand by the Bears. They give up the big gain initially to Nagata, and then their pass defense, we've talked about it, worst in the country right now, comes up with 2 big plays, good coverage, and forced the UBC field goal. So now it's on the offense's shoulders to get that momentum back.
Points would be great, but even just getting that ball back down on the other side of the field here. Baker, Ilnicki in behind him, and he'll hand it off to Ilnicki, his 2nd carry of the football game. This is going to be a big one as well. He cuts it back up the middle, lunges ahead, 8-9 yards on that first down carry for Ed Ilnicki, who already has a touchdown in this football game, his 3rd of the season.
Clearly the Bears have seen something. That's the 3rd time with the 2 Baker runs, and now Ilnicki goes right off left tackle. And good blocking downfield by the Bears offensive line, and gets Ilnicki just shy of first down yardage.
Elliott Graham in that linebacking core still on the sidelines as Baker keeps his lunges ahead. He'll pick up the first down here for Alberta, so we'll see maybe they attack that one side of the defense with Graham on the sidelines if they pick up on that.
Yeah, we'll see if that's where they continue to go.
But they were going there earlier when he was in the game as well, so seeing something here in that UBC defense, taking advantage of it at least early. 7:57 to play, first quarter. Dustin Nielsen to Doug McLean here with you on CanadaWest.tv. High snap, flag flies, pass complete for a first down, and this one may be coming back here.
Likely going to be offside or procedure just by where the flag was from and how quickly it was. You can see it's Nathan Rowe pointing to himself, so I'm going to guess that he jumped. And again, those little mistakes for Alberta, they just cannot afford. That's a nice play by Baker.
16-yard catch there for Pasiek.
And now they're marching back, and it's just those little things that the Bears continue to do to themselves week to week. They're, again, they not to go back in time, but they lose last week by 10 points. They were in the Husky game a couple weeks ago, and it's those mistakes that they continue to make that put them in deficit situations like this far too often.
1st and 15 from the 41. Baker, far side of the field, trying to find Nathan Rowe. That was a dangerous play. Looked like that was the only read that he was focused on at that time, and basically threw into double coverage.
Yeah, he'll look upfield and then just kind of throws. You can see there his eyes go over, and he does not see the safety come over top. So they're in 2 deep zone there, and the safety slides over. He's expecting Rowe to be able to get by. I believe that was Will Maxwell who was initially on defending Rowe.
2nd and 15 now. Baker with time over the middle, has a man wide open, and it's through the hands of Ben Pasiek. From our angle, it looks like one he probably wants back, as he was wide open. A good look from Baker to find him there. Maybe he overthrew him a little bit, but
no, that has to be caught. I mean, this is a really nice play by Baker. Pasiek does a nice route, slides in, and that has to be caught. And that was a challenge certainly 2 weeks ago against Saskatchewan. Brad Baker in the early going making some nice throws and too many drops by his receivers. And Pasiek has to come down with that one.
Now Brad Baker will step back a few more yards and punt this ball away. And he lets it fly from the 30. And that one bounces, hopped on eventually by the Thunderbirds just inside their own 45. 2 flags down on the field, well, 15 yards apart from each other. And Brad Baker, when I first logged on and saw that he had punting stats, I thought it was incorrect. And then discussing things before the game today, I realized he's their quarterback and their punter now. So, you know, they had Woodman and Arthur, 2 kickers in the lineup to start the season. Then they went down to just Arthur, and now they have neither of them.
Right.
And they've got 3 different players kicking in all different aspects of the football game today.
It reminds me, back when I was a kid, Johnny Evans, a quarterback for the Eskimos, a backup quarterback to Matt Dunnigan. He was their punter as well. Greg Vavra, we talked about him last week.
Yeah, that's right.
The last quarterback to win a game as a Canadian starter until Brandon Bridge did it last week. Greg Vavra was a punter, actually punted a little bit for the Stampeders and the Eskimos. Not something you see a whole lot anymore. And we'll talk about the 1967 Vanier Cup team that'll be honored here today. All kinds of guys playing multiple positions in that game. So very interesting to see Brad Baker out punting.
It'll be 1st and 10 for UBC. They will work from their own 49. They trail the Golden Bears 7-3 here on a beautiful, little bit of a breezy Saturday afternoon at Foot Field. Golden Bears looking for their first win of the year. Thanks for joining us here on CanadaWest.tv. Dustin Nielsen and Doug McLean. O'Connor hands this off to Nagata. Nagata, initial contact there about 4 yards past the line of scrimmage, and he's hauled down at midfield by the Golden Bears defense. Pretty good first burst here from Nagata when he gets that ball.
He's really quick. Not very big, but he's definitely quick. Nagata listed at 5'9", 188.
So he's not even that small, thick running back. He's just a smaller guy, yeah. 2nd and 4, so 6 on that first down carry for Nagata. O'Connor. Quick hitter. That's almost picked off. As once again, Shaden Phillip getting his hands on that. That would have been a pick 6 the other way, right through his hands.
Shaden Phillip. What a quick break. You'll see him line up to the left of your screen. He reads his play all the way and just jumps it right there. Ooh. And like you said, he was gone if that one ends up in his hands. And Shaden Phillip from my alma mater, Paul Kane High School in St. Albert, having himself a good start to this ball game.
That would have been a huge momentum swing. I mean, the defense is getting the job done again. Phillips getting the job done again. But at the same time, that would have been huge for this Golden Bears team. Now here's Hutchins with the kick, end over end. That's going to come down. Bounces past Andre Webster and will roll into the end zone where he will pick it up and take the knee in that situation. So Webster, a guy who's been returning kicks for a long time. I don't know if the sun bothered him on that one or not.
That's what I'm sort of looking to see from our vantage point where if the sun would be coming right into his eyes.
It might be. It's up to our right here.
Because that was very strange because he looked like he was right there for it. Then at the last second backed away. And results in a single point for UBC.
This makes it a field goal difference here. 7-4, Alberta leads.
In the grand scheme of things, you're okay with giving that up to get some extra yardage.
Yeah.
UBC looked to be covering that punt quite well.
There's Baker with Ilnicki to his left. And he'll hand it off to Ilnicki, who takes it right up the middle. And this time the UBC defense is able to slow down the Golden Bears. Pickup of about 2 yards for Ilnicki.
And Vigini, Elliot Graham steps in to help with that tackle.
There's Graham back in the game here after being taken out with an injury early. 2nd and 7 for Baker. He'll work from his own 38 here for the Golden Bears offense. 3 targets to his right. Pressure coming, goes over the middle. First down to Tyler Henry, and Henry takes what he's got and plunges ahead, moves that ball up to the 52. So Tyler Henry involved early here, 2 catches in the first quarter for a dangerous, dangerous target. Tyler Henry.
UBC blitzes off the edge, 27, Colton Zaichley. And Baker reads that well, throws right to where Zaichley came from. Henry just settled down in front of that zone. A good job by Alberta to move the sticks.
1st and 10 from the 51 here for Baker. And once again, quickly, that would have been a pickup of about 8 yards, but in and out of the hands of the intended target. That's Pasic again. That's 2 that Pasic probably should have been able to hang on to. That one was defended from behind, but still it was right there for the taking.
Absolutely, that's still a ball you have to have. I mean, you know the contact's coming. So all you do is, it's like basketball. You just box out, seal out, bring that ball in, and that's 2 early drops for Ben Pasiak.
It's Tyler Henry swinging over to the left side of Baker. Baker looks to his right now, flips it underneath to Ilnicki. He got nowhere to go, and did that ball bounce loose? Incomplete pass, I believe, is what it would be called.
Yeah, that'll be an incomplete pass, because that was a forward throw.
And Ilnicki, did he ever
He never caught it. He never caught it. So the officials have it. It's just a late dump underneath, you see there, and he never has control of it. The ball starts bouncing around. So correct call by the officials, incomplete pass.
So it'll be a 3rd down and 10 here for the Golden Bears. Injured Thunderbird down on the field.
Looks like it's Connor Griffiths.
Had a good game last week, Griffiths did.
He's very good on that defensive line. 3rd-year player from Langley. 5.5 tackles so far in 2017.
Caused some problems for Siemens last week.
He really did. Really took Siemens away and limited that running game for Saskatchewan as well.
He bit on a couple of plays early in this game that opened up the field for Baker on a quarterback read. But once again, I mean, we saw Elliot Graham come onto the game earlier, came back in for UBC. And there are 3 or 4, I believe, real difference makers on this UBC defense, and another one of them is walking off the field right now. He appears to be okay, but we'll keep tabs on big number 91.
Yeah, really good front 7 and a very good secondary for Blake Nill and the UBC Thunderbirds. We've already seen that a little bit. Malcolm Lee with the interception earlier in the first quarter. So the wind a little bit in Baker's face, not a strong one, but again, gusting a little bit over 20K.
Baker, low snap, picks it up, and this punt will come down at the 33, and that is where O'Connor and the offense will march back out onto the field. What are you looking to get from Baker in the punting game, really? I mean, not a guy who kicks. And these kicks we've seen so far are in the, 30-yard-ish range, if that, in some of these situations. Something that you just need to find a way to overcome, is it not, Doug?
Exactly, and I think the challenge is actually for the punt cover team, because you may not get as much hang time nor as much distance. That was very close again to no yards. That's going to be the challenge for Alberta. And for UBC, they're going to be making sure they're catching all those balls, not letting them hit the ground, seeing if they can draw those no yards flags.
1st and 10 from the 35 here, empty backfield for O'Connor. Quick hit to Alex Morrison, and Morrison, 6'4", going to push ahead. That ball pops loose. I believe the Thunderbirds are on it. You saw the Golden Bears flock to that loose football. As soon as it popped loose, UBC does recover.
The whole Bears bench went nuts as soon as they saw the ball out, but unfortunately they were all on the sideline. The guys on the field couldn't get to it, but Alex Morrison got things off with a bang last week against Saskatchewan with a 93-yard touchdown. Puts UBC in 2nd and short here.
6'4", 220 pounds, Morrison. Draft pick of the Montreal Alouettes. Handed off to Nagata, and Nagata's got the 1st down, plus a little bit. Takes it up to just inside his own 50. And it'll be a fresh set of downs here for the Thunderbirds.
And the thing that I like about UBC's offense is that they'll take what's there. They don't, O'Connor does not force things. They're very methodical. The Manitoba game 2 weeks ago, short passing game in the first half, then they opened it up a little bit more in the second, and same thing last week against the Huskies.
Here's O'Connor looking over the middle. Had a little bit of time. Now that is complete. To a yard here for O'Connor. Remains in the shotgun with Nagata directly to his right. Tucks it into the belly of the running back, and he's going to burst right up the middle. Eventually finished off by Reggie Shep, but takes it down inside the 45.
And Nagata, good job blocking by that offensive line. Gets past the diving tackle, the linebacker, and he's on to the second level pretty quickly. And a good drive here for UBC.
Late in the first quarter, UBC looking for their first lead of the football game. They work from just outside the Alberta 35. That one's dumped off underneath to Nagata, and he made a couple of guys miss before he was eventually hauled down from behind, but a good push there from Nagata after taking that shovel pass underneath.
Yeah, so the Bears shovel pass doesn't work. This one does for UBC. As Nagata just slips in as the D-line pushes upfield. And we said not a big body, but he can carry the pile a little bit. He carried Levi Morlock a couple yards there.
1st and 10 from the Alberta 22 for O'Connor. 3 targets to his right. Flag flies. Ball to the far corner. That was never close to anyone. He was looking for Trey Kellogg. Shaden Phillip was there as well. Well, as I mentioned, we did have a flag at the snap.
Ball thrown in behind on that corner route to Kellogg. And this flag, Alberta pointing at the UBC offense, and it's going to be offside UBC. Bears will decline it.
It is indeed offside against the Thunderbirds. That penalty is declined. That'll bring up 2nd and 10. Ball at the Bears' 23-yard line.
So 2nd and 10 here for O'Connor. Thunderbirds right now, you could say, have left a few points on the board in the first quarter. Golden Bears defense, give him credit early. O'Connor with 4 targets to his right. Looks to his right. Now comes back to his left on a screen play. Oh, and that was set up nicely for Nagata. And he moved before he brought that ball in. And that'll bring up 3rd down for UBC.
And you said it. They set that up perfectly. 4 receivers go to the right side of the, start on the right side of the formation, all go to the right. That leads the Bears defense over that way. Nagata comes underneath, and they had blocking down.
That might have been a touchdown.
Diego Alatorre.
So once again, we're just talking about leaving points on the board. UBC shooting themselves in the foot a little bit here. Hutchins to tie the game from 30. That kick is up, and it is good. So we are tied at 7 with 34 seconds left here in the first quarter. And Doug, it's been pretty evenly played football game so far.
It really has been. The Bears, even though, I mean, they had that nice opening drive, scored the touchdown, haven't scored since, but when they've needed to, they've moved the ball down the field, reestablished field position, and defensively, they've given up some yards, but when the Bears have had to stop UBC and really control them, especially near the red zone, the Bears have been able to do it, and that's huge for a defense that has been good against the run, has struggled against the pass, so some confidence potentially early for this Alberta defense.
Baker with 20 seconds remaining here in the first quarter. Gives it to Ilnicki. Broke 1 tackle. Got back to the line of scrimmage, maybe a yard on that carry for Ilnicki. We talked about it a little bit earlier, Doug. They had some success going up that left side. They've kind of gone away from that a little bit.
I've gone away from it and maybe setting up to use it again a little bit. You get UBC thinking just A gap, B gap, and then they start to break it back to the outside again. Connor Griffiths, we should mention, number 91, still on the sidelines, and I could see him earlier. I don't read minds very well, but shaking his head when the offensive coordinator came over to chat with him. Defensive coordinator came over to chat with him. So not sure that we're going to see Connor Griffiths again.
Here's Baker. He's in trouble. Drops the ball. And Alberta is able to recover as Baker let that thing slip away. And that will bring up 3rd down here for the Golden Bears. It'll also bring us to the end of the first quarter. The Golden Bears and Thunderbirds tied at 7. University of Alberta Athletics would like to recognize and thank their corporate sponsors for continued support of the Golden Bears and Panthers programs. Adidas, ATB Financial, Maritime Travel, Coast Edmonton Plaza, Global Television, The Gateway, Sherlock Homes, Campus Tower Suite Hotel, and Big Rock Brewery. Doug, your thoughts on that first quarter of play between these two clubs?
Two teams kind of feeling themselves out a little bit.
Like themselves out,
yeah,
not even each other. I would agree.
You're
Yeah.
right. Good point.
Yeah.
I mean, For Alberta, I think generally fairly positive. You're tied at 7 against a very good UBC team through one quarter. You've been able to slow them down near the red zone. You've had some success offensively, but the one thing for Alberta is still that it's two things. It's the momentum, and can they continue it, and then just the mistakes, drop passes, penalties that hurt this team. For UBC, to me, this is a team, and having seen them now a couple weeks in a row, they're a team that I'll say they lay in the weeds a bit. That's maybe not the right phrase to use, but they're very patient, and you can tell a very confident bunch. They don't get overly panicked about things, and so you kind of wait for them to strike. Like when's the big push going to come? But for right now, the Bears hanging tough, and now they'll have the wind at their back.
You know, at the same time with UBC, no Travell Pinto, no Marcus Davis, no Ben Cummings. I think we're seeing that a little bit here in the first quarter. Nagata's done a pretty good job stepping in there. But if you look at it just quickly, I want to hit on this because this is a storyline, I think, through the first quarter of this football game. Michael O'Connor is 4 of 10.
Right.
And Brad Baker is 2 of 8. So it has not been a good day for the quarterback so far. However, both teams have been able to run the ball a little bit, which we may not have expected coming into this football game.
No, you're right, considering how good these two defenses are against the run. And for Brad Baker, he doesn't throw a high percentage as it is, 46% on the season, which is not, frankly, probably good enough. He needs to be a little bit, throw at a higher percentage than that. Michael O'Connor, 59 for 89 coming into this game. So, again, a guy that likes the short passing game. He'll stretch it downfield a little bit. And it's not an overly windy day, but I think your point a couple seconds ago about the players that UBC doesn't have, Pinto and Davis especially, that's going to change your passing game because you just do not have the same guys that can stretch the field against Alberta that you would otherwise.
Ed Ilnicki on the ground so far in this game, 4 carries for 28 yards. Brad Baker, 4 carries for 33, so over 60 yards on the ground, which has surpassed what UBC has given up so far. So Alberta, they've been able to run the ball this year. They're doing it again today.
They are. 50 yards in the air, 74 yards in the air for UBC. So not a huge offensive output for either team yet.
It's a good kick from Baker. Comes down inside the 40, and good coverage downfield. The initial tackle made there by linebacker Brendan Friesen. And that was Baker's best kick of the day. You'd mentioned wind at his back here in this second quarter.
And yeah, maybe the wind's a bigger factor than we can sort of gather here because that punt definitely was far different than the earlier ones from Baker. So
that was about a punt of 47, 48 yards for Baker. And UBC, 1st and 10 from their own 40. O'Connor up under center this time. And he'll hand it off again to Nagata. Golden Bears defense closing quickly, and they'll take him down, maybe even for a slight loss on the play. So it'll be a 2nd and long situation for O'Connor and the Thunderbirds offense.
Good job by that Bears front 7 just to string Nagata out. He could never get the shoulders turned upfield, and eventually they were able to bring him down.
They give him a yard with that initial push. It'll be 2nd and 9 from the Thunderbirds 41. O'Connor, not a lot of success through the air today. He's got 4 targets to his right on this play. Nagata moves up to the end of the line. Pressure. O'Connor in trouble, and he is taken down with that heat coming on his blind side. And a big play there by the Golden Bears defense. I believe it was Levon Howrluck who got to him.
Howrluck comes from his linebacker spot. You'll see him line up to the top side, and he'll just slide untouched right up the middle. The left tackle, Diego Alatorre, gets pulled out, and that opens up the lane for Howrluck. And O'Connor cannot out-sprint the former running back.
Howrluck, that's right, formerly on the offensive side of the ball, and a lot of potential on the offensive side of the ball when he first came here, using his speed that time. That's his first sack of the year for Howrluck. 15 tackles coming into this game. Here's Andre Webster now. Webster's going to get this ball back up to almost midfield. So a good couple of minutes here for the Golden Bears. Their defense possibly playing the best their defense has played this year. I know last week they were pretty good against a high-flying offense with Noah Picton, but I've really liked what they've done here so far. They have not surrendered a touchdown 17 minutes into this football game.
Well, and the biggest thing so far, I think, has been better coverage with their secondary. I mean, the front 7 has been pretty decent. We've talked about how good they are against the run. That was their 5th sack of the season, so they're conference in that category, but the defensive backs, to me, have had a better start here today, and that plays a big role in what that defense has been able to do.
Ilnicki with a good burst right up the gut, and that's going to be close to a first down. A couple of Thunderbirds almost got to him, but Ed had the speed to find a couple of holes on that play.
Ilnicki, you've got to make contact early. Once he gets downhill, he's really, really difficult to stop. And this time here, he's just too quick. Just blows right past number 56, Dante Vigini. And once again, he's to that second level. He's really difficult to bring down.
Big boys in on the line here. Baker, a keeper, and he'll plunge ahead. They only needed half a yard. They got it on the play, and it'll be a fresh set of downs inside the UBC 50 here for Alberta, tied at 7 mid-second quarter.
Yeah, he got the half yard, but not a whole lot more. But that's all they need. I don't think they're going to, no, they are going to measure this one again.
Thought he was a little bit further ahead than where they gave him that spot.
He kind of he put his head down into the line and kind of got folded up a little bit. I think he's got it, but it's going to be awfully close. That's the measurement.
Now they've moved the ball. I think looks like they might have even moved it ahead a little bit. If that's where it is, he's going to have it on the play. By a quarter of a football, they've got enough, and that offense will remain on the field here for Alberta. Well, Baker hasn't put up great numbers here through the first quarter of this football game, but I like the way he's played.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of drop balls, that's not his fault.
That's not his fault, nope. I agree with you. I
He
think
looks more comfortable than last time we saw him in person.
He really does, and I mean, I didn't get to see much of the Regina game last week, but his numbers are okay. 18 for 36 in that ball game, over 300 yards. So I think the biggest challenge for him, like you said, some drops from his receivers over the course of the season.
Back into the trustworthy hands of Ed Ilnicki, and he will pick up 4 yards on that first down carry. Second and somewhat manageable situation here for Baker and the Golden Bears offense.
And that's what you want. That's a great way to put it. Second and manageable, because for the Bears, they need to be able to use that mix of run pass, and they need to have a defense wondering, because I think when this team is forced into second and longs, they don't have the complete passing game to be as consistent as they need to.
Baker not ready for that snap. He's in trouble now. He'll get it at the 50, try to roll away from some trouble. Big block opens him up, and Baker will throw this away. That could have been way, way, way worse for the Golden Bears. Good job by Baker to recover, but some miscommunication on the play. It looked as though Baker and everybody else were completely off, not on the same page here.
No, they weren't. It was a hard count by Baker, and the snap came, and you're right, he just either wasn't ready for it, but mistakes. I keep using that word over and over again, and it's just those simple mistakes from the Golden Bears. I mean, they get themselves in a good spot here, just outside the UBC 40, where you're getting near field goal range, even with Arthur not playing today. But mistake, Baker makes a good play to make it not as disastrous as it could have been, and now they're forced to punt.
Well, the good news for Alberta is Baker's kicking this away with the wind from midfield, and it's a pretty good kick. That's going to come down at the 2, scooped up there, and nowhere to go. Golden Bears down the field, and they'll pin UBC deep in their own territory. That's one of the better punts we've seen from any Golden Bears kicker this year.
Very good kick, and frankly, a bit of a dangerous play there by Kansatonis. Nice catch as he really picked it up off his shoe top, so that's one that could easily spill out with the Golden Bears pushing downfield right on him.
This is the deepest that UBC's been backed up so far in this football game. 10:35 remaining in the first half, and we are still tied at 7. O'Connor up under center, Nagata in behind him. And he'll hand it off to Nagata. And the Golden Bears are there to close after a pickup of about 3 or 4 yards. So a little bit more work to do here for this UBC offense.
Yeah, that front of Alberta able to limit that initial gain from Nagata. And again, he very much like Ed Ilnicki, once he gets downhill, tough to bring down. Quick and powerful.
6 yards on that carry for Nagata. 2nd and 4 from the 14 for O'Connor. Throwing this time, looking to his left. That is complete. And a nice move to pick up the first down a little bit more on the far side of the field to J.J. Delorier. Delorier, that's just his 2nd catch of the year. Does a little bit of return work for this team as well.
And Delorier gets matched up on Levon Horlock out in the flat, and O'Connor goes right to him. And Delorier comes from a family of football players. His uncle Laurent had some success right here in this city playing with the Eskimos back in the mid-'80s, winning a Grey Cup. He was a CFL All-Star in his rookie season in 1984.
Another quick pass. This one a little too quick for Trey Kellogg. Seemed like Kellogg sort of hesitated before going to get that ball, and that led to now a 2nd and 10 here for UBC.
Well, in this, as we've said a few times here, with the likes of Pinto and Davis out, you look at Kellogg, 2nd-year player, Marcus Brown, 1st-year player. He's got Will Watson and Alex Morrison, 2 veterans, and Delorier, a 3rd-year player, but previously played with SFU. So he's playing with a lot of, frankly, new receivers that, yeah, you might throw to in practice a little bit, but you're not throwing to them a whole lot in games.
2nd and 10 now from the 22. O'Connor, near side of the field. That one's up for grabs. And he was looking on the near side here for Alex Morrison, who's 6'4", but not even with that height could he bring that one in.
And that's a big stop for Alberta. They give up the 1 first down, but then they bear down, and they're going to get the ball again in good field position as Hutchins forced to kick into the wind.
Defense impressing.
They've been good. They really have. And I think the thing that's impressed me the most has been how well their secondaries played, because that has been a challenge for this team, but they have stuck to UBC receivers very well here so far in the first half.
Led by Shaden Phillip. Big pass breakup, almost had another interception. And now this ball will come down at the 47. And a no yards penalty on UBC. So this will march the ball even into way better field position here for Brad Baker.
Yeah, the Bears are going to get this ball inside the UBC 30. That's going to be a 15-yard penalty against the Thunderbirds. Good job by Andre Webster.
He attacked that ball.
He attacked the ball, and that's what you have to do. Because the thing is, with a short punt against a wind, even if you don't, I mean, you want to catch it clean, but even if by chance you don't, there's a good chance you've got guys within that 5-yard halo, so you're in a good spot.
1st and 10 from smack dab on the 30 for Baker and his offense. This is the best position they've been in to start a drive so far here this afternoon, tied at 7. They'll hand it off to Ilnicki. Ilnicki trying to go around the left side of that line, and they did have a 7-man front in there, but nowhere to go for Ilnicki. Picks up about 2 yards.
Nice job. That's Elliot Graham in on the tackle. And he gets up kind of, it looked like it was a neck injury that he had, and he gets up kind of stretching that neck again.
So a little bit of a stinger?
Yeah, not sure, but he's staying in the ball game, but he's clearly battling something from earlier in the first quarter.
2nd and 8 from the 28. Baker looking to his right. That ball complete on the far side of the field, close to a first down. This will depend on the spot, as he got that into the hands of Nathan Rowe. His first catch of the football game is a big one for Alberta.
Bears 2 tight end formation there to provide a little bit of extra protection for Brad Baker. And Nathan Rowe just sits down at the first down marker.
It's a veteran play from a first-year receiver right there.
That's a very well put.
1st and 10 now from the 20 for Baker and the Golden Bears offense. John Gurma down here on the near side of the field. Baker's going to keep this one. Baker's going to run it. He's got some room. Brad Baker slides ahead, another first down, and Baker taking a page out of Ben Kobzinski's game here today. Running the ball.
And this time they go the other way. They've gone to the left tackle. Use the left tackle. This time they go to the right. And again, UBC does not read it. Baker, I really do not believe he is looking to run. I think he's expecting this quick dump over top of an oncoming linebacker, but there's nobody there. So for Baker, he puts his head down and goes.
1st and goal now from the 8 for Baker. 3 targets to his left, Ed Ilnicki in behind him. And now Baker barking out some last-minute instructions. And he's going to look to the end zone, looking to the corner, looking for Tyler Henry, picked off! Huge defensive play by UBC as Stavros Katsantonis is able to make the play, and a big turnover here for the Golden Bears offense.
I'm not an offensive coordinator. I never will be, but I will admit that's a call I don't quite understand. That's your first read from the far hash marks, trying to throw that ball. That's an easier play for a safety like Katsantonis to undercut. And you have to drop it into a pretty narrow spot, and that to me is just, they went too tight end set again, and they clearly felt that's where they had the opportunity with Henry. But to me, that's a really tough throw to make.
Now they'll hand it off to Nagata, and the defense closes quickly. A big hit, eliminating there Aaron Chabelo.
And just back to the Bears offense quickly. We mentioned earlier their struggles in the red zone. They do a great job marching all the way down, and then again, another mistake inside the red zone, and they have to find a way to get over that hump and cash those in for 7 points, because against a team like UBC, you're not going to get a lot of those opportunities.
We'll continue to talk about that last turnover here in just a moment. Here's O'Connor now, 2nd and 7, empty backfield, quick hitter on the near side, and Wishart, a good job by Wishart diving ahead, and he's going to be close to picking up the first down on that play. Just to go back to that interception, and he threw it into the side, and it wasn't like it was just one-on-one out there. There was 3 receivers, and they were all kind of in that same area, so it's not even like you could have dumped it off and tried to have your receiver kind of run underneath it.
No, that's right, because they went, as I said, they went with a 2 tight end set, 3 receivers to the left, and they all ended up basically in the same spot, which means that someone either didn't run to the right depth or something happened, because that's typically not what you want.
Now they'll swing it to Delorier, and the Golden Bears defense sniffs that out immediately. Tack Landry leading the way defensively for Alberta. So 2nd and long here for this UBC offense.
Really well read by Alberta. They string Delorier out. He can't get the edge. And the Bears able to limit that gain on the fly sweep to about 1.5 yards.
2nd and 8. O'Connor just picked up a first down in a 2nd and long situation. 2 plays ago. He'll need and try to do it again here. O'Connor, pressure up the middle, and they got him. Tack Landry rolls over the UBC quarterback. 2 huge plays for Landry, and Alberta's going to get this ball back.
Bears send the house that time, but on a delayed blitz, Tattinger came late. The O-line picked him up, but then Landry came in untouched. And the 2nd sack of the game for this Alberta defense, who are starting to feel it right now. They're feeling pretty good on that sideline after the way they've played so far here in this first half.
Greg Hutchins stands on his own 10 as he lets this thing fly into the wind. Andre Webster waiting for it, loses it, and is able to get it back with a little bit of help from the UBC cover man downfield as he kind of knocked it back underneath Webster when he tried to grab it on his own.
You're exactly right. That was Chris Dixon. And I'd said a few minutes ago that oftentimes on those no yard, when you attack the ball, even if you drop it, oftentimes the oncoming cover team is within 5 yards. That time, that was a free ball. That would have been UBC's ball had Dixon been able to land on it. But there's also going to be a penalty against Alberta. It's going to be a hold on the return.
That'll back them up inside their own 45. Still not bad field position for this Golden Bears offense. 4.5 minutes to play here in the first half. We are still deadlocked at 7. And a pretty good football game this afternoon at Foot Field. Alberta looking for their first win of the season. Here's Baker. Ilnicki to his right. It's been a steady diet of Ed Ilnicki today. And they'll give it to him again. And a good job by Ilnicki. He found 2 holes coming through the line. And he picks up about 8 on that first down carry. Golden Bears run game's actually slicing and dicing their way through this great UBC defense.
Yeah, that offensive line's done a great job at the point of attack, opening up holes for Ilnicki, and he reads the play so well. Once he's into open field, he knows where to go. And you said that second cut that he made that added an extra couple yards to that run. Should mention too, Connor Griffiths back in the game for UBC.
2nd and short. Baker's going to keep it this time, and he will throw it. Looking the back shoulder there for Pasic again, and he could not hang on. Could Baker have picked up that first down, do you think?
I think he probably could have.
It's a cross-body throw. He kind of tough play to make.
It is a tough throw, and you said all your momentum's carrying you to the sideline, and you're trying to, and that's a finesse throw. You're trying to throw. That was good coverage on Pasiuk too.
Big play here. 3rd down and a yard, right at midfield. Here's Baker. He'll keep it, and flags do fly. Baker looked as though he had enough for the first down. Doug, you've got the binoculars down in the pile there. What do you see?
I think he got the first down on the plunge. I think it's going to be a penalty against UBC. I'm guessing, and I wasn't exactly looking for that. I'm guessing they're deemed to be, but they lined up offside, because I didn't see Alberta move at all.
And the 2 officials' flags as soon as that ball was snapped.
And that usually, and it is against UBC. Usually that's what happens. Guys line up, and it drives coaches crazy. It's like
when you line up offside. Yeah.
It's 1 yard.
That's something you shouldn't need to work on in practice, right?
I heard Jason Moss talking about that, because the Eskimos lead the league in offside penalties in the CFL by like 2-1. It's not even close. And that's what he was saying. He said it's not complicated. You have 2 jobs. Count 1 yard and wait till the ball's snapped. So I think you could see the same thing for Blake Nill here with UBC.
3:20 remaining. First half, we're tied at 7. Ilnicki again, and Ilnicki once again getting past that first level of the UBC defense and takes it up to the Thunderbird 46.
Carter O'Donnell, the right tackle for Alberta, just does a great job here opening up that hole. 2nd-year right tackle from Lindsay Thurber in Red Deer. And this offensive line, we knew it was going to be a strength for the Bears coming into the season. You're seeing evidence of it here in this opening half.
Here's Baker. Ilnicki again. Ilnicki first down again. Ilnicki with some room right up the middle. And Ilnicki's going to take it all the way to the house. 2nd touchdown of the day for Ilnicki. And the Golden Bears retake the lead.
2 things happen here. Point of attack, great job again by the line. They open up all kinds of holes. And then, just like you said, Dustin, a few minutes ago, Ilnicki, when he spots that, he is so quick at adjusting mid-carry, and you see it here. He reads that block from Corte, and then he is gone. And that burst, and we're not talking about slow UBC players here, and he just blows right past Malcolm Lee and Colton Zaichley. And that's exactly why the Ottawa Red Blacks like Ed Ilnicki. I know he had a good camp for them. I think they're pretty high on him in Ottawa, and there's good evidence as to why.
When you watch Ed Ilnicki take that ball, I immediately think power runner, because he's an upright runner. But at the same time, when he gets any sort of space, and I mean, there's a reason that he's putting up and has put up the numbers that he's put up his entire career with the Golden Bears. But to me, he's a little deceiving with his speed.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. He's so quick, because you look at a play here, and as you see it develop, okay, he gets to that, it's a good 15-yard carry, and you think, okay, well, the safety and the linebackers stepped over, but then he just bursts right through them. I mean, he has another gear that he can go to that I think does surprise defenders. And so it's not just his ability to take initial contact and power through that. It's then that speed that he can turn on, and that's what makes him so dangerous.
2 touchdowns on the day for Ilnicki. Now Zidell to kick this away. And that one will come down at the 15, taken there by Maxwell. Maxwell trying to find some room on the far side of the field, cuts it back up. And here goes Will Maxwell, far side to the 50, midfield now. He's got a couple of blockers. Maxwell to the 30, 1 man to beat, and he's going to take it all the way home. Answer back from UBC. Will Maxwell's going to even up this football game. Ouch for Alberta.
Well, and not that one game comes down to one situation, but I think there's the difference between a team that is 2-1 and a team that's 0-3, and I'm oversimplifying things. But the Bears do everything, get a 14-7 lead, and then they just don't. There's a missed tackle there, and then he is away to the races. And it wasn't a bad kick by Zidell. They were downfield well, but he gets that corner, and he's gone. And if you're Alberta, when again the line is so fine for them in terms of where and how they stay in ball games, you just cannot afford to give up that kind of a play after you get a big score, especially with how well your defense has played in this first half.
95-yard kick return there for Will Maxwell. And you make a good point, Doug. Golden Bears defense is sitting there going, we're doing everything we can. And look, some of these special teams guys are defensive guys. But that's got to be a little devastating, especially late after your offense has managed to give your team the lead here.
And they look to have it fairly well covered. And I didn't catch the number of the player that made the diving attempt. But there's a situation you don't have to make the big play. Stay on your feet, stay under control, slow Maxwell down, let your teammates come back and help you out. Instead, you try to make that big play, and suddenly there's no one, and Maxwell just too quick, and he's gone.
14-14, 2 minutes, 24 seconds remaining here in the first half at Footfield. Dustin Nielsen and Doug McLean with you on CanadaWest.tv, and we've been treated to a pretty darn good football game so far here between UBC and the University of Alberta. UBC, the number 7 team in the country. Here's Hutchins, and Hutchins is going to kick this ball, and it will come down at the 10. And on the far side of the field, that's Nathan Rowe out there for a return here alongside Andre Webster, and he'll get it back up to the 25.
It's been a steady diet of Andre Webster and Daniel Bubeleni who have been returning kicks so far this season for Alberta. That time Nathan Rowe out to return one.
His first kick return of the season. Alberta's offense has some time here. Baker's going to start with the ball on his own 25. Ilnicki once again in behind him, and once again they'll give it to Ilnicki, and Ilnicki lunges ahead. Flag on the play as well. It would be a pickup of 2 or 3 yards here for Ilnicki.
I think it's going to be a hold against Alberta, and it looks like Blake Nill's going to send him back. So make it 1st and 20 for the Golden Bears.
Ed Ilnicki already over 104 yards, over 100 yards with 104 on the day. Of course, that 46-yard touchdown will help boost that number up. But if you had Ed Ilnicki in your Canada West fantasy lineup today, 2 touchdowns and 100 yards in the first half will help you.
And hopefully you had UBC special teams too.
That's true. This will get backed up, as Doug was saying, so it'll be a first and 10.
It's actually going to be
first and 25.
So it's going to be. Sorry, I admit I wasn't.
It was a dead ball foul. Is what they ended up calling.
So it would have been unnecessary roughness, and I was just making the assumption it was holding because of when and where the flag was thrown. But that makes it even worse for Alberta because it's now 2nd and 25.
So 15 yards and the down there. So 2nd and 25 from their own 11. Baker looking down the field. Has a little bit of time and then eventually is taken down. Was he tripped up or did he kind of fall on his own? He's limping as he's trying to walk away here. He's got to punt this ball away, so he's going to go back, but he does appear to be in a little bit of pain.
Looked like he might have been tripped up. From our angle, it's tough to tell if that's what happened, but
as a look at Isaiah Joseph coming off the field there. And here is Baker. Expect him to take a knee in this situation, Doug?
Well, you might. I mean, it's a tight ball game. You hate giving up points. Yeah. But that's what they're going to do.
So the Golden Bears will take the knee, the safety in their end zone, and will give up the points. Now trailing 16-14. Probably better than giving the UBC the ball on your side of the football field late to really get some momentum going here after that special teams touchdown.
So as has been the story, unfortunately, for the Bears far too often, is that when things look really positive, they're up 14-7, and all of a sudden, a kick return touchdown, an unnecessary roughness penalty, and you give up a safety, and you're trailing.
Yeah, just like that.
Just like that.
They're playing a good football game.
They are.
Today.
But it's those simple. They're the most penalized team in Canada West. 165 yards in penalties they're averaging a game. And so you take a penalty like that, a dead ball foul, and suddenly, again, everything flips. So it's, for Alberta, I mean, I don't want to say you have to play a perfect game because I think that's stretching the truth a little bit, but
you can be significantly more disciplined than 165 yards in penalties. So Zidell will kick this away. I don't know if you want to go back in the direction of Will Maxwell again, considering what he did just moments ago. They will. And this will come down to Maxwell at the 15. Same place he started when he brought the last one back. Maxwell right up the middle again, still going. Will Maxwell midfield, not taken down, trying to plow ahead. And he was a jersey tug away from taking that one back as well. And he's put his team in a terrific spot to start here with 90 seconds left.
Again, the Bears get caught. To me, there's a hold that they might have missed right there. Grabbing the back of the jersey. I think that might have been Lucky. No, sorry, it wasn't Lucky Daniels. That's David Abadeo. But nonetheless, a nice return again. And suddenly, you give up the safety. Another good kick return, and they have good field position. Probably where they might have been had Baker punted. So
it was Emmanuel Vela who eventually managed to track down Maxwell. He was close.
He was very close. And it becomes so much about confidence a little bit too, and you become, even as the kick team, become a little bit hesitant. You're not just playing, you want to stay in your lane, you want to be as disciplined as you can be, but you got to find ways to shed blocks, you got to find ways to just slow them down, change the angle a little bit. As the injured UBC player, that's number
Liam Haim.
Yep, that's who's their long snapper.
Third-year guy for UBC. 90 seconds to work with here for Michael O'Connor. He'll start on the Golden Bears 45, empty backfield. And they'll drop the screen off here for Nagata. The blockers were not there though, Doug. And the Golden Bears able to wrap them up after a pickup of maybe 3. And now a late flag again. And this is on Alberta. That's a couple of huge penalties.
Nope, it's going to go against UBC.
So that's a huge penalty the other way.
Yeah.
Some undisciplined penalties late in this half.
Yeah, and I didn't see this one either because the whistle had gone. The Bears probably did push the limit a little bit, bringing Nagata down with the whistle going. But I didn't see what UBC did to draw that flag. But regardless, it'll be a first down and then 15 yards, or second down, sorry, and 15 yards back.
Same situation that the Golden Bears found themselves in that led to the safety they had to concede. So a big play here. Four targets to the left for O'Connor. Shovel underneath to Nagata, and he is wrapped up. Was O'Connor hit after he shoveled that pass off? Because a flag at the point of contact there, and it is going to be
roughing the passer, Alberta, after a heck of a play by Ty Herring, I think it was, or Blake Adams. Will see it here. And it is Adams who brings down Nagata.
And it was Herring who kind of rolled into the quarterback. He didn't blow him up. It wasn't late. But he kind of fell and rolled into the legs of the quarterback. It's a call that they make.
They make all the time, and it's
an unfortunate call for the defender in that situation. Yeah. Huge play, though, as UBC now gets a fresh set of downs at the Alberta 40. 1st and 10, that's where they'll work from. O'Connor looking to his right immediately. And a quick ball out onto the near side of the field for Marcus Brown. And he will pick up a first down for UBC. Or close to it.
Just his 3rd catch of the season. And it will be a first down UBC. Yeah, back to that play from here. I get they have to call. I mean, you're trying to protect knees of quarterbacks. There's no question you have to make sure. But it's one of those ones where he gets kind of pushed into the ground, just blocked into the ground legally. And again, the momentum kind of carries him into the legs of O'Connor.
Now Nagata almost found a hole. Still managed to pick up about 5 on that first down carry. But a good job by that Golden Bears defense as they were being moved by that offensive line. They held on to Nagata, didn't let him break free.
Really nice job to the left side of that defensive line because that hole was there for Nagata, but Alberta able to limit the gain, and now UBC will call a timeout with 54 seconds to go here in the opening half. And at halftime, they will honor the 1967 Vanier Cup Alberta Golden Bears 50 years since they won that national championship. That was just the third official national championship in Canadian university football. The Bears had played in 1965 and what was then known as the College Bowl, and lost that game to the University of Toronto before.
How do you not win the College Bowl?
Well, exactly. I know, but then they come up and win it in 1967, defeating the McMaster Marauders.
So we'll have a little bit more on that coming up here at halftime. UBC trying to score their first offensive touchdown of this football game. Will Maxwell with the special teams return TD, 95 yards. Now here's O'Connor with Nagata to his left. And he's going to look to his right. He's going to take a shot to the end zone, looking for J.J. Delorier. And that's defended well and batted down by Levon Horlak.
And so they get the matchup they want. They get the linebacker Horlak on the receiver Delorier, but Horlak, with that good speed, does a good job of staying right with Delorier. He came from a fair distance.
Closed on him quickly.
He did. So that's a nice play by Levon Horlak, having a pretty solid half.
So once again, UBC will have to settle for a field goal attempt. And this will be Greg Hutchins, missed earlier in the game, has hit one.
And Liam Jaime, their long snapper, who was hurt a few minutes ago, is snapping.
This will be a 32-yarder to extend the lead.
And we're going to get procedure, I think, on UBC. She's going to march this back a little more.
And UBC on the field kind of is wondering what's going on. Saw Trey Kellogg, who's holding here for Greg Hutchins. Still not sure he was fully aware of what was happening. He'll be down on a knee once again, waiting here. This one now from 42. This would be the long on the season for Hutchins. Missed from a little bit deeper. Oh, and they're going to fake this. And they've got Morrison. Alex Morrison on the near side of the field. He's going to pick up the first down, pushed out of bounds eventually. But UBC with a little trickery to keep this drive alive, and they made that play look easy, Doug.
They really did. Morrison just runs out into the flat. And Kellogg does a nice job, sets his feet, puts the ball in a nice spot for Morrison, and big play for UBC. Chance now to punch it in for 7.
They will work 1st and 10 from the 10. Nagata, 2 great cuts, staying on his feet. And now he's taken down at the 5. Reggie Shep in on the tackle. Looked like they might have had him at the line of scrimmage, Stud, but he managed to get away.
Yeah, he takes that initial contact, able to bounce it outside a little bit, and then just kept those legs churning. And Reggie Shep, as you said, able to ultimately bring him down. UBC in the red zone on the season, 80% in terms of putting up points. That's 3rd best in Canada West, but only 40% in terms of cashing in for major scores. That's 5th in the conference. So trying to find a way here to build on their current 2-point lead.
Well, the Golden Bears defense has held up very well here in the first half. You're in a position where you're down 2 points right now. This would be frustrating, and it's not likely that they'll be able to stop them from the 4-yard line, but it would sure be frustrating if they can.
Well, and this is the mental side of the game for Alberta. If UBC goes in and cashes in here, considering where they were even a few minutes ago with a 14-7 lead, what's their mindset heading into halftime? So the momentum has swung very quickly in favor of the Thunderbirds. So this is a big play here for Alberta. If they can limit them to a field goal, that would be big heading into halftime.
2nd down from the 4. Low snap. O'Connor picks it up. Tried to look over the middle. Has a man. And that one is complete for the touchdown right at the goal line. Was it Wishart? It was his first touchdown with the Thunderbirds. And a big score late here in the 2nd quarter.
Looked like it was going to be a field goal, then the fake. And UBC able to punch it in, and they've gone very quickly from what was a 14-7 deficit to what will now be a 23-14 lead. And UBC showing why they're the number 7 team in the country, as the Golden Bears with 30 seconds on the clock in the first half. Not a ton of time, but if they can get a decent return, maybe a bit of time to put themselves in field goal range. But of course, the challenge there is that you're sending out your redshirt kicker, Alex Ingraham, who would be in the position to try to put that through. So still some time for Alberta, but not a ton.
The Golden Bears took a 14-7 lead with 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. In the last 2 minutes and 10 seconds of this football game, they gave up a touchdown, a safety, and another touchdown, special teams touchdown, the last one we just saw. So that's a huge swing in a matter of 2 minutes and 10 seconds, Doug.
And I hate to say it, that's why this team's 0-3. There's your answer right there.
An opportunity maybe to do something here. But Webster wrapped up almost immediately, gets it back up to about the 26. And that's where the offense will come back out onto the field. 25 seconds left to work here in the first half.
Not a lot of time. We'll see if they decide to keep the ball on the ground with Ilnicki or if they try to take a chance downfield. The wind, again, gusting a little bit, mostly at the back of Brad Baker.
Baker, shotgun. Hands it off to Ed Ilnicki. Ilnicki cuts it back up the middle, and Ilnicki will get it close to the 35 before he's eventually taken down. And with 18 seconds left, it'll be a second and short situation here for Baker and the Bears offense.
And running on first down, pretty good indication that they're not going to try to force something downfield here. But we'll see. Second down, who knows what they may have up their sleeves here.
Clock ticks inside 5 seconds. And they'll hand it off to Ilnicki again. He's got the first down, lowers his shoulder. And that will do it for the first half of play. Things were looking good for Alberta, but a impressive and late push from UBC has given them a 9-point lead as the two teams head off the field in the first half. And I mean, the last 3 minutes of this half kind of summed up the Golden Bears' season so far. Was it Ed Ilnicki touchdown, 46 yards? That's what he's been doing. And then one missed tackle on a return. Will Maxwell takes it all the way. Then a safety because of an unnecessary penalty that you took in that situation backs you up. You give them 2 points. Another good return from Maxwell. A trick play on the fake field goal. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're down by 9. You had a 7-point lead. Now you're down by 9. It's a 16-point swing in 2 minutes. You just can't win football games when that happens, Doug.
It's impossible. You really can't. And I mean, we don't mean to beat down on the Bears. That's not what we're trying to do. But it's just the reality of what has been a consistent challenge for this team over the last few years, where it's just mistakes that they make that spiral out of control really, really quickly. And special teams has played a huge factor here today. The kick return touchdown, the fake punt, and teams like UBC just feed on that. And Alberta, this, like I said a few minutes ago, going into halftime, can this team regroup itself to a point where they can settle down heading into the second half and make a push? Their offense played fairly well. Their defense, we didn't even mention the fact they have a new defensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator Danny Boyle gets fired. Paul Dawson takes over. They've been very good in this opening half.
This is the best I've seen their defense play. I know they gave up that touchdown late, but this is the best I've seen the Bears defense play in a long, long time, to be honest with you. Maybe ever. I've been doing games for 7 years, but that's how good I thought their defense was in the first half of this football game against an offense that we saw last week. O'Connor threw for over 430 yards.
Yeah, and even that last touchdown really set up by the fake punt. They'd stopped them.
They had stopped them.
They stopped them, forced the field goal. So it's really difficult for Alberta making mistakes like that to try to find ways to win against really good teams.
Let's take a look at some stats, and we'll talk about this 50th anniversary of the 67 Vanier Cup team. Then we'll take a little bit of a break here at halftime.
Numbers through the opening half. Ed Ilnicki, 13 carries, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He's been outstanding. Baker, 6 carries for 38 yards himself. Corey Nagata in for Ben Cummings. He's got 10 carries for 66 yards. Brad Baker, these numbers are not great. 3 for 12, 2 interceptions, only 58 yards through the air. Michael O'Connor settled down a little bit as the game wore on. 10 for 19, 114 yards and 1 touchdown. Trey Kellogg, he's 1 for 1 on that fake punt. Receiving wise, again, only three catches for Alberta, 2 by Tyler Henry for 50 yards. Nathan Rowe, 1 for 8 for UBC without a lot of their weapons. Liam Wishart, he's got 3 catches for 20 yards. Trey Kellogg, 1 for 44. So those are the individual numbers. First downs, 12 for Alberta, 10 for UBC. Total offense, Alberta 203 yards. They've held UBC to 185 yards of offense in the opening half, and yet are trailing right now by 9 points.
Once again, it's big moments in this football game that have made a difference. You mentioned Baker's numbers so far. They've not been very good, and also one of those interceptions was in the end zone.
Right,
where that was a huge swing in this football game as well. I mean, you look at 2 or 3 key moments in this game, and they have not gone in favor of the University of Alberta Golden Bears. They find themselves down 9 here against a high-powered UBC Thunderbirds squad. Doug, tell us a little bit about the 50th anniversary of this 1967, 50-year anniversary for this team. I'm trying to think here. My mom was 4 years old when these guys won the Vanier Cup. Think about that for a second.
Well, my mom won't like me saying this. She wasn't 4 years old. She was in university at the time. In fact, they might be here. I was curious if they may have known some of the players on that team. But yeah, really it came together in 1965, the decision to have more of a national championship. And for the first 2 years, there were no semifinals. It was a panel that was an invitation to the national championship. So there's a panel that made the decision. The Bears went in 65, played U of T, lost that one 14-7, but then got back, and it was a semifinal in 1967 that they won to get to Toronto. Played at Varsity Stadium in front of 16,000 people. So Varsity Stadium, where a lot of Grey Cups were played in through the 40s, 50s, and 60s, right in downtown Toronto. And for Alberta, coached by Claire Drake.
Of course they were coached by Claire Drake.
So you heard that right. Claire Drake going into the Hockey Hall of Fame within the next 6 weeks. Coached that team and then went on to win a national championship in that same school year in hockey. Hasn't ever been done and will never be done again.
Of course it hasn't been done. It's ridiculous that it was even done once.
Well, basically, it's like Chris Morris heading over to take on the Golden Bears hockey team, or Serge Lajoie now taking over the Bears football program.
And not just coaching both teams, but coaching both teams to national championships, which is, it's unfathomable that happened.
It is crazy. And Jim Donlevy was on that staff with Claire Drake. He, of course, went on to coach the Golden Bears football team for years, winning 2 other Vanier Cups in 1972 and 1980 with the Golden Bears football program, and then actually went on to work with the Western Hockey League for years. Donlevy did, working on the scholarship side of things with the athletes, but that's another story. So that game in 1967, a 10-9 win by Alberta over McMaster, and the game won on a late Golden Bears field goal, and then with McMaster driving even later in that football game, under a minute to go, John Wilson with a huge interception inside the Bears 20 to seal the victory. And Val Schneider was named the MVP of that game. He played linebacker, fullback, and punted in that game.
Of course he did.
Of course. And then he went on to a career in sport. He coached at the University of Saskatchewan, worked as the head of Canada West actually for a long time. And his son Brent, a 2-time MVP in the Vanier Cup with the University of Saskatchewan Huskies as a quarterback. So some connections there. And some of the players that were here today, as I take a look here at the list. So Robert Wanzel, Donald Hickey, Hart Cantalone, Ludwig Dobner, Gary Scheike, Larry Dufresne, David Benbow. We mentioned Val Schneider is here today. Peter Gilbert, David Ray, Ross Meek, Hart Schneider, Robert Clark, Ed Molstad. Ed Molstad went on to a long and successful career with the Edmonton Eskimos. and then actually headed up the Canadian Football League Players Association for years, has a legal background if I'm not mistaken, and that's what he did
Okay.
career-wise for quite a long time with the CVL Players Association. Melvin Smith, William Buxton, Lyle Cullum, and then the assistant coaches Jim Donlevy, Arnie Anger, Barry Mitchelson, and then student manager Willie Littlechild. He was out here. He's, of course, gone on to a very storied career in public life here in Alberta, and Ken Riva. So a very interesting.
You know what? That's a good number of people returning for a 50th anniversary of anything, let alone a football team. That's
So it's great to see. And the crazy thing is, when you think about, and you and I have been doing these games for a while, and it's been a struggle. There's no doubt for a long time for this Golden Bears program, short of maybe that the couple years where they were 7-1 in 04 and 05 and got to the Hardy Cup. But when you think about it, this Bears program was dominant for years in the 60s, 70s, even into the early 80s. They weren't just good, they were very good. Won 3 Vanier Cups. The Bears have 18 all-time Hardy Cups. That's second most in the conference. They haven't won one since 1981.
So they were ahead of the game.
So they were way ahead of the game. Won a whole ton of Hardy Cups, 3 Vanier Cups. Again, got back to a Vanier Cup in 1981, lost that one. So they were in back-to-back years, defeating the Western Mustangs here in Edmonton at Commonwealth Stadium. So this was a very good football program for a long time, and that 67 team was really, in some ways, the kickoff.
Kind of got it going, yeah, definitely. We'll see if maybe it's a little motivation for the guys who are on the field today as the Golden Bears trail by 9. We'll be back in just a few moments here with second half action from Footfield on CanadaWest.tv. Welcome back to Footfield, everyone. Dustin Nielsen alongside Doug McLean here on CanadaWest.tv. And it's been a good football game so far. The Golden Bears do find themselves facing an 0-4 start to the season, and they trail 23-14 here to start the second half. UBC, their offense has been able to move the ball, but stalling in some inopportune times until the final 2.5 minutes, in which they got a 95-yard kick return from Will Maxwell, faked the field goal to keep their drive alive, and then ended up getting a touchdown from Liam Wishart, and now find themselves with a comfortable lead here to start the second half. What will you need to see from Alberta here, Doug?
Discipline. That's the biggest thing. Their offense has been decent. The numbers for Brad Baker are not good, but overall their offense has been okay.
Ed Ilnicky's having a great day.
Yeah, the challenge is 2 interceptions from Brad Baker. Ilnicky's been very good, and they've been able to move the ball. Even when they haven't scored, they've been able to move the ball and at least reestablish some field position. But it's discipline. I don't just mean in terms of penalties. I mean discipline on the kick return. They're going to kick the ball off here right now. So we've seen back-to-back 2 big returns from Will Maxwell. He's out there again. And so it's, do the Bears have the mental wherewithal to deal with what happened in the last 2.5 minutes and push back here in the second half?
This one will bounce to Maxwell just inside his own 20. Gets one block to open himself up on the far side of the field. Tripped up downfield there. And that is Shaden Phillip, who's having himself a game. That was a big tackle.
That was a big tackle and a bit of a gamble, actually, by Phillip, who could have just stepped up to force Maxwell back inside where he had help, but he decided to lunge at Maxwell and got just enough of him to bring him down.
Phillip, a near interception in the first half. Another pass breakup in the end zone as well. He was all over the place in that first half for Alberta. UBC, first chance offensively here in the second half. And they'll hand this off, and that'll be pushed ahead for about 7-8 yards. Nagata with the carry. O'Connor 10 of 19 for 114 yards and a touchdown. You tell me he had those numbers, you probably think UBC would be trailing, considering what he did last weekend against the Huskies.
Well, and he had a slow start numbers-wise to the year, too, as he threw for more yards last week than he had in the first 2 weeks combined. And again here, 114 yards in this opening half. So not huge numbers, but good success for O'Connor.
2nd and 2, back to Nagata. He's got the first down, a couple extra yards to spare as well. And that will move the ball outside the UBC 35. They lead 23-14 on the strength of 16 unanswered late in the second quarter. It'll be first down here from the 37. O'Connor once again, if you're just joining us, no Travell Pinto, no Marcus Davis, no Ben Cummings, star running back. O'Connor now over the middle has Morrison, and Morrison taken down immediately on the play by Friesen. Chabelo, rather, sorry.
I've been really impressed with this linebacking core here today. Horlock, Chabelo, Tattinger, and Tack Landry. They've been very good over the middle, taking away that short passing game of Michael O'Connor.
Chabelo's having an incredible season for the Bears as well.
Second-year player from Sherwood Park. 19 tackles. He's 4th in Canada West coming into this game.
Quick hit here out to Wishart, and he is going to be wrapped up just short of the first down. He reached out for it, but he'll come up about a yard short. Wrapped up there quickly.
It's a nice job there nice tackle by Philbin. A nice job by Wishart as he's going down to just lean that right arm out and put himself just about a yard shy of the first down.
Offense remains on the field. Cole Meyer in at quarterback, and now we've got a timeout called by the Golden Bears, as they want to make sure they've got the right set on the field here for the short push. They have enough players, Doug?
They got 12 players. So interesting to have the timeout called this early in the second half.
Caught a little bit surprised by the fact that they were going to go for it. I don't see that being a situation.
Unless they felt, again, because he's certainly within less than a yard, so almost always you're going to go for it. And new defensive coordinator Paul Dawson having a quick conversation with some of his defensive unit.
you can tell that the defense, whether it be the guys starting to get a little bit of chemistry out there, getting more comfortable with themselves this year, or maybe it is the change at the defensive coordinator position, but the defense night and day compared to that first game of the year when we watched them here at Foot Field.
Well, I mean, you hear the term flying around a little bit when teams talk about defenses, and that's how I describe what this defense has done, and they just seem a little bit looser, and they are athletic, and the athleticism is shone through here in this first half.
Interesting here as O'Connor comes back out, and now he's going to throw it on the far side of the field. That's caught by Trey Kellogg. Kellogg's got one man blocking for him and is able to spin his way ahead to just inside the 40. Mind games from the coaching staffs there as Meyer was out on the field, came off, and the Golden Bears were watching when O'Connor came back on the field. They switched 4 or 5 of their defensive personnel, and then O'Connor caught him for a big first down.
Very strange all around. Like you described it well, and the Bears were not ready. I mean, they call a timeout, and they were still rushing in to try to be prepared for the snap.
And that's when O'Connor came back on the field. They changed their personnel package. Now it's going to be handed off here, and Nagata right up the middle, and jumping ahead for close to a first down, about 8 yards probably on that carry.
8 yards, but Blake Pickard gets away with a pretty healthy tackle, and I think that was Blake Adams that he hauled down, and that opened up the lane for Nagata. Good run by Nagata.
2nd and 3 from the Golden Bears 32. O'Connor up under center. Nagata once again finds a hole, picks up the first down, takes it down to the 25. They brought in big Edgar Nelson to help with the blocking to open up a hole on the right side of the line.
Trayvon Walsh that time in on the tackle for the Golden Bears. And another first down for UBC. So the momentum they built up at the end of the second quarter has carried through here into the third.
This looks as though it's been their best drive of the football game actually so far. Needed a fake field goal to keep one of their drives going earlier. And now we've got a timeout being called by UBC. So a couple of early timeouts here in the third quarter, Doug.
Yeah, just not something you see very often. And O'Connor was at the line all set to go, and then he's not even coming over to the bench to talk, so I'm not sure it was something they didn't like or if they were worried if the play clock was winding down on them. Nonetheless, timeout each way here in the first 4 minutes of this third quarter. But UBC in a good spot here right now, just outside the red zone. We've mentioned penalties a few times in this game. Penalty yards in that opening half, 6 for 50 yards for UBC, 6 for 55 for Alberta. So when you're the Golden Bears and having taken 165 yards on average through the first 3 games of the season, you feel pretty good if you're only at 55 yards.
1st and 10 here from the Alberta 25. And the Thunderbirds marching here early in the second half, trying to add to what is a 9-point lead right now. O'Connor, Nagata in behind him, and he'll swing it out to him. Running back trying to find an edge, gets a hole and picks up about 6-7 yards, and that's the first time we've seen that play so far here this afternoon, Doug.
Yeah, nice pitch and a good job by Alberta. Both Chabelo and Levon Horolak do a good job to shed that block to get to the outside to make sure they establish some contain and they are able to limit Nagata getting to the sideline.
Second and 3 from the Bears, 18. O'Connor, Nagata, once again a pretty good cut and still going. And, that second effort might have been enough to pick up the first down there for the pint-sized UBC running back. And they've obviously noticed something here in the run game because it's been a steady diet here of Nagata.
And that time there, the line pushes to the left, and Nagata with a cutback to the right on his own, so goes away from where the blocking was leading him. And it looks like if he doesn't have it, he'll be just shy of it. You said Nagata in that opening half, 10 carries for 66 yards. And looks like by about a chain link, he's got it.
And that took a couple of extra seconds there to get a look at that one. And it'll be a first down, fresh set of downs here as they will work from the Golden Bears 15. It's been a patient drive here from UBC. Not looking for anything too big, but at the same time picking up exactly what they need. Agata again. And once again, he manages to get past that initial push from the Golden Bears defense and picks up about 5 yards on the carry.
And he had about 6 green jerseys to deal with as soon as he got around the corner and still was able to leap through, put himself in a spot to pick up that 5-yard gain. And like you said, patience, and this is, to me, the hallmark of UBC's offense. They're just very patient. They'll take shots when they need to, but they don't put themselves in a lot of bad situations.
Now O'Connor looking right over the middle, and that pass complete, just short of the end zone. So it'll be third. It'll be a first down inside the 5. A great opportunity here for UBC on that catch from Trey Kellogg.
Just a quick slant route by Kellogg. And he stopped at the goal line. So 3 chances from the 1.
O'Connor from the 1. Nagata in behind him. And he'll give it to Nagata, who tries to jump over the pile. And he was denied by the Golden Bears defense. He thought he had it. He's looking at the official saying, "Are you sure I didn't have it?" But it was a good job, the initial point of contact there by the Golden Bears defense to push him back.
And that's Aaron Chabelo again. Meets him right at the top of that jump and just drives him back.
So UBC will be forced to do it again. 2nd and goal from the 1. O'Connor. Nagata in behind him. Will the quarterback keep it? Gives it to Nagata again. Goes up again. And denied again by the Golden Bears defense. Tried the exact same play on the other side of the line. And once again, not enough.
So rounds 1 and 2 go to the Bears. But UBC with another chance. And that's a tough thing when you leave your feet and you're not a big body, like that ability to get over top of the pile.
That's what I'm wondering. He's not
tricky.
a big back by any stretch of the imagination. See if they do it again. Third and goal from the 1. Nagata again, up again, and this time he's able to get in a little bit more room for the running back. I had a feeling Blake Nill and his offense would try the exact same thing again. I knew it was coming, and they were able to get it in that time, and UBC extends the lead 15 with an extra point pending.
Much better push there from the offensive line of the Thunderbirds. I'm not even sure Nagata actually had to jump. I think he would have been able to push through, but leapt 3 times in a row, and 3rd time's a charm as he gets in, and this UBC lead now up to 16.
And a time-consuming drive there for UBC. They took about half the quarter off the clock, Doug, and now the Golden Bears offense is going to have to answer back. You're getting to that point now where drives without points are only going to kill you if you're Brad Baker in this Golden Bears offense.
Well, and not that the previous 3 weeks necessarily dictate what happens now, but the Bears in their 3 losses so far have put up 26 points, 17 points, and 18 points. So they're now going to be asked to do something here down by 16 that they haven't done all season, and that's get to 30 points. And that also means limiting UBC from cashing in more as well. UBC 3rd in Canada West in points allowed, 27 a game.
7:36 remaining here in the 3rd quarter. UBC now with a 16-point lead. Hutchins kicks this away. That will come down to Andre Webster, waiting for it at his 12. Now would be a good time to break one. He's going to come to the near side of the field, and he gets wrapped up as he brings it out over the 30. Taken down there, and Kyle Miller.
So the run game has been successful for Alberta. We've seen that already with both Baker and Ilnicki. They have to find a way to get that passing game on track. Brad Baker again 3 for 12 and no Ben Kopczynski to go to here today.
2 catches from Tyler Henry, 1 from Nathan Rowe, and that's it. Here's Baker. Hand it off to Ilnicki, and Ilnicki is able to charge ahead, gets about half of what he needs. And I do wonder, with the way the passing game has gone and the way the ground game has been able to attack today, I wonder if it's just Ed Ilnicki. You're in a position here where you're not rushed. I mean, you don't have to pass. You're only down 16. You've got a quarter and a half left. Maybe go with what worked so far for you today?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think you'll probably see that. Or you use play action to set up some of that short passing game for Brad Baker. Just give him a bit of confidence throwing the ball.
They'll give it to Ilnicki again. He's got the first down and a little bit more. Ed Ilnicki refusing to be stopped. He's able to take it up just inside the Alberta 50.
UBC actually had good penetration there from the left side of their defensive line, but Ilnicki just a quick bounce outside, and he's able to find a way to get into open field. And like you said, Dustin, just drags the defender along with him for about an extra 6 yards.
1st and 10 now from the Golden Bears 48. Baker back to Ilnicki, and Ilnicki's got another hole. He's into the second level. He's got a first down and more. Ed Ilnicki rumbling his way down inside the UBC 45.
This is just straight real power football. There's nothing complicated here about what the Bears are doing. They're just giving the ball to Ilnicki, letting him. I mean, he's getting such a good push from that offensive line. He's got a few holes to look at. And so the Bears, nothing complicated right now, and UBC just cannot deal with Ed Ilnicki, and this is not what we thought we would see coming in, considering how good they'd been against the run all season long.
Ilnicki doing damage to the UBC run defense that we have not witnessed so far this season. There's an injured Thunderbird who is now up and walking off.
I think that's Nico Rupole that's hurt.
Holding his left arm to his chest. It's a shoulder injury. And now Baker back out with the offense. Prior to the injury, they were going to give Ed Ilnicki a little bit of a breather. Andre Webster had come into the game, but Ilnicki was able to get to the sideline, get some water, and now he's going to remain in this football game, which is big because he's running downhill on this UBC defense right now.
16 for 159 in this game.
Baker to Ilnicki again. Going to be in trouble this time, but he cuts it back up. A good read there by Ilnicki to move back inside the block, and he's able to pick up about 4 yards on that first down carry.
The line, again, pushes out to the left. That play initially, I think, designed for Ilnicki to get to the outside, get off tackle, but like you said, Dustin does a good job to read where that blocking was and just pushed it back up and is still able to get 5 yards.
2nd and 6. Golden Bears with the wind at their back. Ilnicki again, right up the middle, and he's lunging ahead. And Ed Ilnicki will have a first down for Alberta. And they're not messing around right now, Doug.
No, and I mean, we keep saying Ilnicki, but it's Mark Corday, it's Justin Lawrence, it's Jonathan Hark, it's Kemal Korshasali, it's Carter O'Donnell. Those are the guys right now that are making this happen, and they are absolutely dominating at the line of scrimmage right now.
Ilnicki to the sideline. Dryden Kolesnikov into the game at running back. He'll get the ball, and he's got some room. Kolesnikov's going to take it for about 10. And a first down for Alberta as they are running the ball against one of the best run defenses in the country. And it's just going to be just short of a first down. 2nd and half a yard, basically. Good push by Kolesnikov.
Yeah, good speed to the outside.
It's his 7th rush of the season. Baker, shotgun, 2nd and short. From the 21 of UBC. Kolesnikov again, wrapped up, trying to push ahead. And he does have enough for the first down. And now Ed Ilnicki will check back into the game. So Kolesnikov doing his job there, Doug.
Nope, exactly. And you mentioned the fact that we hadn't seen Andre Webster in the backfield either, and he had a huge game a couple weeks back against Saskatchewan, complementing what El Nicky did. So right now it's 3 running backs for Alberta doing some damage here against UBC.
1st and 10 from the 18. El Nicky again gets around the line, plowing ahead, taking some Thunderbirds with him down inside the 10. Almost enough for another first down.
Well, we honored the 1967 Vanier Cup team, and this is pretty much, I think, how football was played through a lot of the 1960s.
A forward pass, Doug. What?
So this is, I mean, the push this offensive line is getting is huge, and it's the receivers too. That time you see Colby Miller, as UBC calls a timeout. Colby Miller getting into it, so the receivers downfield doing a good job to open things up for Alberta. But this offensive line right now, just absolutely pushing down the throats of what is a good front 7 of the UBC Thunderbirds.
Second down and an inch. Took 2 or 3 looks here to make sure they didn't have enough, so not much work left to do to pick up the first down here.
And there's been no misdirection. They haven't even run a counter play yet. This has just been straight, here you go, Ed, you and Kolesnikov, you guys do the job. We'll just make the push up front.
They have rushed for more yards on this drive than UBC was allowing per game coming in. Just downhill on the Thunderbirds. Here's Baker now, 2nd and inches from the 8. El Nicky again, cuts it back again, and El Nicky! 3rd touchdown of the game! El Nicky finding the end zone again. And the Golden Bears march down the field, run all over the Thunderbirds, and keep themselves in this football game.
That was an unbelievable drive. I mean, how often have you ever seen a drive? It's just, they did not even consider throwing the ball once.
Not once.
No play act, nothing. Just straight, and again, it's just right up the gut over and over. And that time, they think the El Nicky's coming up the middle. He bounces it to the outside. And another touchdown, 3 on the day for Ed El Nicky.
He had 2 touchdowns on the season coming in, 3 touchdowns today. He's closing in on got to be almost 200 yards here with still over a quarter to play. And the Golden Bears once again down by 9. And now you've probably planted a seed of doubt in that UBC defense. They're going, we knew you were running, and we still couldn't do anything about it.
Yep.
If the Golden Bears were to get the ball again, I don't know why you'd even attempt to pass at this point.
20 carries for 189 yards and 3 touchdowns right now for Ed El Nicky. And if you look at the team comparison on the ground, the Bears right now 239 yards rushing as a team. UBC total yards 270. So it's been UBC a much more balanced attack right now. And when we say a team is lacking a balanced attack, it's usually that they're heavy pass first, run second, while the Bears it's all run. We're not even going to contemplate throwing the ball right now.
Like you mentioned, no pass action, no quarterback. It was just, here we go. We'll hand it off to El Nicky. Kolesnikov came in, 2 carries, first down, back off. That was the most impressive drive I think I've seen from the Golden Bears in a long, long time. And now they're going to try a little bit of a shorter kick. And this one's going to bounce down at the 22 and taken out of bounds there by Alex Morrison, who was waiting back for a kick.
And that's a smart adjustment from Golden Bears special teams. They know with Zidell being the backup kicker, he won't be able to get the depth that they would with Arthur, and probably not the placement either. So that can create some challenges for your kick cover team. So that time there, just put it into a spot where UBC is going to have to, even if they catch it on the run, they're not going to have a lot of room to move. So smart little adjustment, I think, by Alberta.
Now a shovel pass underneath, and that's going to be taken up the middle, now trying to cut it to the outside, and they will not have enough for the first down there on that carry from Liam Mahara.
Reggie Shep does a nice job there. A little bit of misdirection on that shovel pass, as the play from UBC looked like it was pushing to the left, and then able to get the ball into Mahara.
2nd and 2 from the 30 here. O'Connor looking on the near side of the field. That's complete to Delorier. He does have enough for the first down. He was wrapped up immediately there by Horlak, but it will be a first down for UBC.
Good job there from Delorier just to read that soft spot in the zone. Trayvon Walsh went out to the flat at the sideline, and Delorier just slid inside of him and opened up a target for Michael O'Connor.
1st and 10 from the 35 for O'Connor. Mahara remains in the game to his left now, blocking for his quarterback. Pass over the middle, and that one too high. Never really an opportunity there for Marcus Brown to bring that one down.
Just a little post route, trying to drop it in over the linebackers and just in front of the safety, but just a little bit high for Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown, first-year player from Surrey, played at Holy Cross, listed as 6'4", but that ball was well above him.
2nd and 10 from the 35 now for O'Connor. He'll be throwing again. Bears bringing some pressure over the middle. Delorier's got it, and he's extremely close to a first down, depending on the spot. He may have it. I think he's going to come up just a little bit short here, though, Doug.
A little bit short. Good break on the ball there by Trayvon Walsh. And I think you're right, Dustin. He's just going to be a little bit shy, but certainly
will call for a measurement here.
But they'll certainly go for it here on 3rd down.
You know, from where I'm looking at on this side of the field, he may have enough. The far side of the field, it looked like he might have been a
and the far
short.
side, I think that marker is usually a little bit ahead of where the actual marker is, so that wouldn't surprise me if. Yeah, and he does have
enough. Why is it usually ahead a little bit?
It's just I think it's just trying to read where it is, and it's just usually
just overplay it a little bit, save ahead, yeah.
So they're often not quite lined up.
So J.J. Delorier getting involved in the offense here a little bit. 2 catches on this drive. 90 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. Golden Bears trailing by 9. Same situation they were in coming out of half. Handed off right up the middle. Golden Bears defense trying to get there. And it'll be a carry of about 5 yards on that first down push.
And interesting that Mahara remains in the game. Listed as a tight end. We'll play a little bit of fullback as well.
Nagata is standing on the sidelines, and he appears to be fine. Helmet is on. He just had a terrific drive. Ended in a touchdown, but Mahara remains in here. And now a flag before O'Connor even gets up to the line of scrimmage.
Too many men, UBC. Not sure if they had too many in the huddle and one came out possibly. Because it looks like they've got 12 on the field.
Yeah, they
right
only
now,
have 12 on the field. They did a quick count.
I was looking away, but I'm guessing that's what it was too many men in the huddle.
2nd and 15 now. Huge play here for the Alberta defense. O'Connor, 4 targets to his left. Mahara to his right. 3-man rush from the Bears defense. O'Connor sprung out to his right, finds a man, that's Morrison, and he'll have enough for a first down, and a flag about 5 yards up the field there from Morrison as well. O'Connor using his legs to keep that play and possibly this drive alive.
Yeah, 3-man pressure, and they got a decent push up on O'Connor, but like you said, he's able to use his legs to get to the outside, and we're going to have an illegal contact. I think it'll be declined by UBC because the first down will wipe that out. Bears with decent coverage downfield initially, and Chabelo came late trying to get to O'Connor, but he was able to dump it over top to the open Alex Morrison.
That moves the ball into the Golden Bears side of midfield. A work from the Alberta 54. O'Connor with Mahara in behind him. Delorier swings underneath. They'll give it to Mahara. And he takes kind of a bump from a Golden Bear that sort of pushed him ahead. and he's able to get close to a first down. He'll get about 9 yards on that first down carry and move it inside the Golden Bears 50.
Might have been Jacob Narbonne from behind number 39, like you said, who got decent push up field, but as he turned back around, ended up bumping into Mahara.
Final play of the third quarter. Here's O'Connor, second and short. Alberta 46. Mahara again right up the middle. And he's taken down there quickly by Lucky Daniels. But it's still enough for the first down. And the UBC Thunderbirds, thanks to a big play by both O'Connor and Morrison, kind of has some momentum here, Doug, as we head into the fourth quarter. And the Golden Bears defense is as impressive as it has been for us today. They could use a big play here to get some momentum early in the final quarter of this football game.
Yeah, I think you're very right. It's become a point, as good as the defense has played, they need to find a way to get a big turnover, a big stop, because that's just the nature of the way this game has gone. I think they've helped out their offense a ton, but they need to find a way to get the ball back in the hands of their offense, see if they can chip away at this UBC lead. The Bears today, so far, the one good thing that they have not given up on offense, at least against UBC, have not given up the big play. The big play came on the big plays, I should say, have come on special teams, but really they've limited that big play, and that has been something that the Bears defensively have struggled with this year and in years past, and they've really managed to keep UBC, they forced them to really methodically march the ball down the field.
Some numbers here as we take a look at the third quarter. Brad Baker, 3 of 12 in this football game for 58 yards. The Bears have basically abandoned the pass game. And why wouldn't you? Ed Ilnicki, 20 carries, 189 yards. That's 9.5 yards on average per carry. He's almost picking up a first down per carry today. He also has 3 touchdowns. Baker has carried the ball 6 times for 38 yards. Tyler Henry with 2 catches. Nathan Rowe with 1. UBC, Michael O'Connor is 18 of 28 so far in this football game, 186 yards. Corey Nagata on 20 carries has 109 yards, so he's not having an Ilnicki type day, but he's having a good day himself.
Yeah. No, it has not been an aerial attack from either team here so far. But
which is funny because we thought it might be with the ability of these two teams to stop the run coming into this game.
Yeah, I mean, Baker did not throw a pass in that whole third quarter. He 3 for 12 at halftime, 3 for 12 through the third quarter. Look at the out-of-town scoreboard, and this is an interesting score with about 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. Manitoba up on Regina 8-0. And that game being played with about 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. Manitoba 8-0 up. I'm just looking here quickly at some of the individual numbers. Noah Picton, 10 for 15, 79 yards only. No touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Actually, it updated as I spoke. He's now 10 for 16. That last pass was an interception. So Manitoba gets the ball back with an 8-point lead.
Manitoba, of course, looking for their first win of the year as well. Now here's O'Connor. Over the middle, has a man wide open. It's Trey Kellogg, and Kellogg into the secondary there. Will take it down inside the 15. That's one of the bigger plays of the day for this UBC offense.
Well, just as soon as I say it, UBC comes up with one of those big plays into the Alberta secondary. And Trey Kellogg has become the favorite target here for Michael O'Connor, with the likes of Travell Pinto and Marcus Davis not in the lineup. Kellogg with another big play.
108 yards for Kellogg now on the day. Here's O'Connor. 1st and 10 from the Golden Bears 12, trying to answer back. A impressive drive by Alberta. Pressure on O'Connor. He finds a man. That's complete. And Reggie Sheppy trying to keep him out of the end zone, and he does. It was Marcus Brown who came awfully close to picking up the touchdown there for UBC. There is a flag laying on the field at about the 17-yard line.
Often where, I was going to say it's often where holding is, but they're going to say it's roughing the passer. So it doesn't actually impact anything here, considering the fact they're going to be 1st and goal at the 1 anyway.
The lead right now is 9. It's been as big as 16. Alberta just cut it back to 9. And now an opportunity here for O'Connor and Mahara, who remains in this game. to regain the 16-point lead. Mahara to the end zone, touchdown UBC. An easy touchdown there from Mahara. The offensive line only needed a push of about a yard, Doug, to open up some space for him. They managed to get that done, and UBC answers back just when it looked like Alberta might have some momentum. Michael O'Connor takes the Thunderbirds the length of the field.
Yeah, and this defense has done a lot of good things here today, but that was the drive they needed to really make a push, as you said, and just unable to slow down what, again, is this really steady, consistent offense that UBC has. They're not going to be a team, I think, that's always putting up huge yards like we saw last week from Michael O'Connor. I think they can win in a lot of different ways, and that's what makes this UBC team so dangerous.
Hutchins hammers the extra point home, 37-21. The good news for the Golden Bears is they may have discovered a recipe for success on their last drive, and that is don't throw the ball at all and just run it downhill on the UBC defense, and they've still got 14 minutes to go here in this football game. So there still is some time here for the Bears, Doug.
Still is time, but that strategy may have to change because as good as Ilnicki has been, you don't chew up quite, and even at almost 10 yards a carry, you're still not chewing up the kind of yards you might need to in order to get yourself back in the game, considering
unless he busts one. But
right, with 14 minutes to go, there's time, but it'll eventually become a bit of an enemy for the Bears.
Now this kick hammered all the way through the end zone. Andre Webster couldn't get to it.
So the wind definitely, again, it's picked up a little bit here. You see with the flags on the goalposts. They are definitely blowing stronger than they were earlier here at Foot Field.
Extends the lead to 17 here for UBC. And the Golden Bears will start on their own 35. If you're in a position where you need to pass the ball here, you've got a quarterback who hasn't passed the ball in over an hour here in this football game.
Yep.
When you factor in halftime and a third quarter without a pass attempt. So they'll hand it off to Ilnicki again, and Ilnicki cuts it back up the middle. Pick up about 4 yards on that first down plunge from Ilnicki.
For Brad Baker on the season coming into this game, 38 for 83, 571 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He's thrown 2 more interceptions here today, so only 1 touchdown on the year, 4 picks. I mean, at some point in a 3-down game, you have to be able to throw the ball.
And here's Ilnicki. He's going to come up short of the first down, so the UBC defense was able to stop Ilnicki. Looked as though they might leave the offense on the field, but now they'll bring out the punt team.
And it's definitely a challenge. I mean, Ilnicki's been fantastic, so it makes sense that you keep going to him, but you start to get the impression that there isn't a ton of confidence in Brad Baker as a passer. And that's my assumption. No one has obviously said that, but that's my sense of things, and that becomes a big problem because as much as you can rely on the running game, you can't likely win solely with a running game.
Now he's also punting the ball today, and this one will bounce down at the 40. And it'll be taken out of bounds there by Katsantonis. I mean, the numbers on the season for Baker, as you just laid out, and you throw in what's happened today, you would understand why you might not have much confidence in the pass game in that situation. But we did see a couple of good reads by Baker earlier to keep the ball. We haven't seen that here in the second half.
Well, and again, even from games earlier in the season, there are times where his reads, his patience in the pocket, even his mechanics on the throws are pretty good. But whether it's drops from his receivers that seem to factor into his confidence throwing the ball, I'm not sure, but it's a bit of an issue, I think, right now for the Golden Bears.
1st and 10 from their own 50 for UBC. They'll try to set up a screen here to Mahara, and that's going to work for the first down. He cuts it back across the middle of the field and then is eventually wrapped up and thrown down to the turf there by Josh Tattinger.
And interesting still that Mahara's in the game. Nagata, we can see him right in front of us. And so a bit surprising that He's being held out of this game right now, and
it's been interesting timing because he had his best drive of the
Right.
game and then finished it with a touchdown, but then hasn't seen any game action since.
we're certainly not quite at the point where you'd be contemplating sitting down starters to any huge extent. So anyway, just an interesting development with
Maybe
Ben
the-
Cummings already out.
Maybe the plan all along was you get Nagata so many carries and then give Mahara an opportunity to get some touches as well. But you're right, they didn't go back to Nagata, and it was only a 9-point game at the time.
That's right. Big drive here, though. Alberta absolutely has to get a stop here, get the ball back. Down by 17.
First and 10 from the Alberta 43. Bears showing some pressure. And now a quick pass on the far side. That's going to be complete to Wishart. And Wishart's got a first down for UBC on the far side of the field. He's a guy who had an opportunity with some key guys out today, and he has stepped up.
Yeah, he has been very good. I mean, again, their pass game has been relatively simple as well, and you have to think that's partly because of the players that are out of the lineup for UBC. But they've been able to find guys who have been effective for them, both Wishart and Kellogg, with Morrison chipping in with a few nice receptions as well.
He's made big catches today. He had the one obviously on the fake field goal, had another one on 2nd and 15, I believe, here in the second half of this football game. They're going to measure on this last play from Wishart. And looks like it's going to be just short. So it'll be 2nd and short here for the UBC offense.
Well, we have a quick break. Next weekend, Alberta will head on the road to Manitoba to take on the Bisons, while UBC will be at home in a huge battle to take on the Calgary Dinos. So that, if this result here holds, and depending on what Calgary does later today against Saskatchewan, that's a battle that could be setting up for the top two spots. I think those are the two best teams in Canada West, with Regina, I think maybe that third spot, and then Saskatchewan, a team that has, I think, surprised some, but we saw last week in Vancouver a team that's probably got some work ahead of them to really stay in the hunt against UBC and Calgary.
Yeah, they were overwhelmed last week by the Thunderbirds. Now it's handed off. Mahara taking it to the outside, kicking it up the far right side of the field, and he'll move that down inside the 20.
UBC continues to show the range of weapons that they have, and their drives here in this fourth quarter have really taken any steam out of the Golden Bears that they might have gained from the last touchdown via Ed Ilnicki.
You know, UBC kind of a page out of the Bears book, a lot on the ground here in the second half. And here it is again, Mahara trying to get to the outside. That's definitely a flag on the play against UBC, so this one will be coming back.
Yeah, there was one that might have been called a couple plays back, but that one, a pretty obvious one, that's going to go on Edgar Nelson, who basically tackled Levon Horlak. And Horlak did a really good job, kept his feet pumping, kept his feet moving. That's what you have to do to show to the officials that you are being held back. But even though there are 38 points up here right now, we know special teams have played a factor. This Alberta defense has been very good. And with a lot of players coming back, and I don't want to start talking about next year too much yet, but with a lot of players coming back, you can see where this team defensively could start to go.
There's O'Connor now, and he'll shovel it underneath, and that's wrapped up immediately there. They got it back in the game and nowhere to go.
They've run that shovel pass a few times, and this time Levon Horlak, he sniffs it out. He sees exactly where it's going. They've sent 3 receivers to the left side up the field, and Horlak just kind of waits in the weeds a little bit. He sees where Nagata is, and that shovel pass comes to him, and he just steps right up on it and brings down Nagata. So nice read by Levon Horlak.
2nd and 22 after a 2-yard loss on that last play. Here's O'Connor. He's going to look down the field, takes a shot towards the end zone, and that's broken up once again by Shaden Phillip, who had a good read on that one and realized he wasn't going to be able to pick it off, so he batted it away, and that's his second pass breakup of the day, 5th of the season for Phillip.
And Phillip came away from his own man to make that play. So a nice job there helping out on the corner. And Phillip continues to be strong for Alberta in the secondary.
It'll be a 37-yarder here for Hutchins to push the lead to 20. And this kick is up. And it is good. So 41-21 is where we sit. UBC on the verge of going to 3-1. Alberta needs 20 points, 9:42 to play. We've seen stranger things happen even with this Golden Bears football team, but at the same time, when you've literally established no passing game today, it's going to be difficult to move the ball down the field.
Well, and since it was 14-7 Alberta, 34-7 UBC has outscored the Golden Bears as Cole Meyer begins to warm up on the UBC sideline.
Here's Baker now. He's in trouble, and he'll have to throw this ball away as he's flushed out of the pocket by 2 UBC defenders.
I'm not sure where he was looking, but that was definitely drawn up as a quick look. And whatever that initial look was for Baker, I think he's talking to Nathan Rowe right now, so you got to think it was going to him. And then that play gets broken up, and Baker has to pull it down.
Here's Baker again, 2nd and 10 from his own 35. Ilnicki in behind him. Baker throwing, looks over the middle, and that one almost picked off as he threw into some coverage. Pasiak again, the intended target. And Pasiak really hasn't been able to do anything despite a few opportunities today. That one covered well by the UBC defense.
Yeah, covered well and thrown behind Pasiak too. And so with that tight coverage, that ball's got to be thrown into a pretty small window and ahead of the receiver. And Baker that time didn't look off his target, Pasiak, at all, and that allowed for pretty easy coverage by UBC.
Baker kicks this away, and Delorier takes that at his own 45, manages to bring it back about 9 yards. There is a flag back by where Baker kicked it.
Should mention too, Ed Ilnicki in on the tackle, so if he hasn't done enough running the ball, may as well get a special teams tackle or two thrown into the mix.
It has been great for us, even though it has not been good times over the last 4 or 5 years. It has been great watching Ed Ilnicki develop as a football player.
Oh, I mean, you think about how much of an impact he has had on this program over the last few years. We've talked about the likes of Tyler Henry and Andre Webster, but even those two are used nowhere near to the extent right now that Ed Ilnicki is. And yeah, I mean, he has been a real treat to watch because he's just such a powerful runner, yet just so quick at the same time.
1st and 10 here from the 35. And Cole Meyer now into the game. He'll hand this off. And that's taken right up the middle by Corey Nagata. And he'll take it up to about the 41. So it'll be 2nd and 5.
We should mention with Ilnicki, back to that side of things, he has moved into 2nd place all time in carries in Golden Bear history, passing Nathan Connor. And with his 196 yards, he's moved within 84 yards to passing Jared Winkle for 2nd place all time in Golden Bears history in yards on the ground.
So that's probably early first half next week with the way that Ilnicki has ran the ball, and this game not being over yet here today.
Of course, Jared Winkle, part of those couple 7-1 Bears teams in 04 and 05 that got to back-to-back Hardy Cups but couldn't quite get over that hump. And then Winkle went on to a brief career with the Edmonton Eskimos.
1st and 10 from the own 49 here for Cole Meyer and the Thunderbirds. And Meyer, quick pass far side to Wishart, and he got stood up there by Shaden Phillip.
You need an anchor in the secondary, and Shaden Phillip is becoming that guy right now that you can start to build around. And no disrespect to previous players over the last few years that have played in that secondary, they haven't necessarily had a playmaker back there. And Shaden Phillip is becoming that guy right now, and that's real positive when you look at how solid their linebacking core and their front three is. It looks like a defense that can start to cause some challenges.
Probably the best game I've seen him play here today. And now this pass complete to Wishart on the near side of the field from Cole Meyer, and that'll be a first down. So Meyer has stepped in here, and he's putting together a pretty nice drive here, just 6 feet tall, 175 pounds. Basically the complete opposite of Michael O'Connor, who's checked out of this game at 6'5", 230.
Dylan Niedermeyer in on that tackle. Backup safety in for Colton Balicki.
Here's Meyer now. He will hand this off to Nagata. Maybe half a yard before he's stopped by the Golden Bears front three.
Now Mahara checks back in for Nagata.
Both of these guys basically number 2 and 3 on the depth chart for UBC. We saw Ben Cummings last week, and he was absolutely terrific against the Huskies.
Especially as that game wore on, he just became really a huge factor.
Meyer over the middle, and that one broken up with a hit from Trayvon Walsh as he was trying to find J.J. Delorier. There is a flag, and this penalty is against Alberta.
Well, Cole Meyer, I mean, there was a blitz coming off the right edge. It was Horlak coming at him, and I was looking downfield, but the hit would have come at the same time as Meyer threw that ball. It was a nice throw by Meyer.
It wasn't a late hit by any stretch
No.
of the imagination, though. And Meyer rushes over to the sideline. He's holding his right wrist. So O'Connor back into the football game here.
So I'm not sure if there was a headshot on Meyer. I mean, he's going off with the right arm injury you see there. But I'm not sure if the penalty is because it was a headshot, because the timing certainly would not have made it late, as you said, Dustin.
Now Mahara up the middle. Wrapped up on the play there.
But it was nice play by Trayvon Walsh on that previous pass to break up the throw by Cole Meyer to J.J. Delorier. And that forces, and the hit or the injury forces O'Connor back in the game, so not quite what Blake Nill wanted.
Just over 5 minutes remaining here, a 20-point lead for UBC. And they'll hand it off to Mahara again. And he's a different style running back than what you see from Nagata. Cummings is more of a mix of both of them, to be honest with you. That's why he's one of the elite running backs, I'd say, in the nation, watching him last week.
Well, when you look at Cummings and what they lose, I mean, he's second in the country in yards rushing coming into this weekend. Of course, that'll drop because of the fact he's not playing today. 395 yards, 58 carries through 3 games. He had 19 carries for 179 yards last week. And then you mentioned a guy like Liam Mahara, listed on the UBC depth chart as a tight end, 6'2", 220.
And he uses that size on that carry to barge to the line, pick up a first down, and move that ball inside the Alberta 25.
The other two running backs, to your point, Cummings 5'9", 180, and Nagata 5'9", 188. So they have certainly smaller running backs.
And I have a hard time believing that Nagata is bigger than Cummings, watching Cummings last week.
I have a very hard time believing that either of them are 5'9" as well. So as is usually the case, you look at the numbers and subtract about 15%, and you're probably in about the right ballpark.
Thunderbirds will take a timeout here. And Meyer running along the sideline. I wonder if he wants to get back into this football game. It looks like he does.
Yes. Put me in, coach. I'm ready.
Straight to the offensive coordinator.
My arm's falling off, but it doesn't matter. I'm going back in.
You know, and he was getting tested out here on the sideline by the trainer. It looked like he was in some pain, actually, which he was working on that wrist. And he's still shaking it off there as they chat close to the sideline.
But when you're a backup, you don't get, especially behind the legs of a Michael O'Connor, you're not getting in the ball game a whole lot, and you want every chance you can get. So tough break for Cole Meyer if he doesn't get back into this game. That was a heck of a play by Meyer to take that hit and put that ball in the right spot for Delorier, and if not for that breakup by Walsh, it was going to be a big gain. And then, of course, the penalty that gave him the first down anyway. And at the moment, there is no quarterback in the game for UBC, as both O'Connor and Meyer are on the sideline. So we're into Wildcat formation here.
And they will work first and goal from the 21. And jumping around here, trying to find a little bit of room, Trey Kellogg. And Kellogg, who does have a pass completed earlier in this game, he ran out of room there eventually. And he will remain in the football game at quarterback.
He's 1 for 1 for 20 yards on the game.
Pretty good QB rating. So Kellogg in there with Mahara to his right.
Looking in front of me here, I don't think Meyer's going to be able to get back in this game. I think he's having a tough time gripping the football.
And Kellogg completes a pass on the near side of the field to Marshall Cook. So Kellogg 2 for 2 now in this football game. Didn't waste any time. He got that ball away very quickly.
Yeah, so this is an interesting situation here for UBC, wanting to protect their starter and Michael O'Connor. So you could either leave O'Connor in and just hand the ball off, or I suppose put Kellogg in and open up your offense a little bit more.
3 minutes remaining in this football game. UBC nursing a 20-point lead over Alberta. This time they'll hand it off to Mahara, and he is wrapped up by Tack Landry. And now flag on the near side of the field. And the officials will discuss this. And UBC offside.
Trey Kellogg, second-year player from DeWinton, Alberta, played at Foothills Composite High School. And obviously would have spent some time as a quarterback. The Bears decline that penalty and will take over on downs. So Brad Baker back into the game.
Top 25 player across Alberta as a quarterback in high school, so no surprise here that he gets this opportunity. Baker, day to forget here for the quarterback. He's going to look over the middle. This one complete for a first down into the hands of Colby Miller. Has a touchdown so far this season. That's his 5th catch of the year.
A pretty quiet day, obviously, for the likes of Tyler Henry and Nathan Rowe.
Baker now rolls out to his left, looking downfield. And that one on the far side, looking for Colby Miller again. And the officials will discuss this. And they will say it's complete, so back-to-back completions here to Colby Miller. At this point, if you're Baker, you're trying to get any sort of confidence that you can. Ben Kopczynski not in the lineup, or we probably would have saw him today.
Yeah, I think so. Especially with how they were running the ball. You have to think that they would have liked to have Kopczynski today as another threat.
Baker now, speaking of running the ball, he's going to keep it slide ahead. Almost took a shot to the head there. He gets the ball up to midfield.
And Chris Morris not happy with what he thinks to be a shot at his quarterback.
Baker popped right back up. A little bit of a limp right now.
And that could be from that earlier trip where he ended up just before they gave up the safety in the first half, where he
awkwardly went down, yeah. 2nd and 7 from the 54 for Alberta. Baker, near side of the field, that's complete to Rowe, but Rowe's going to be stopped short, significantly short of a first down. Now there's 3 flags on the field. 2 back by the line of scrimmage, and this one coming late.
And I think these 3 are all for separate infractions, and I think at least 2 of them are going to be for unnecessary roughness. The one in the middle of the field, there were, I didn't catch the numbers. One of the Alberta linemen and a UBC player were tangled up. And that flag came very late. And so it's 2 unnecessary roughness against Alberta and 1 against UBC. So this is going to march the Bears back 15 yards.
Emotions getting a little bit out of control here. Late after that hit to Baker, obviously has a few guys fired up.
Well, and there is a bit of a history here. At least the 2 head coaches, we've seen some fireworks between them in post-game handshakes and those kinds of situations. So you have to think that filters down a little bit to their players. I mean, this game essentially over here with the 20-point lead here for UBC late, and especially after that hit on Baker that I don't think was a hit to the head, but I think from the Alberta sidelines perspective, they thought it was. And the Bears are now going to be forced to punt.
And it won't be Baker punting this time. Alex Ingraham, who is handling field goal duties, out there now to punt this away. 2:12 remaining here in the fourth quarter. Better than last year here between these two clubs, though, Doug. What was the final last year?
62-0.
In favor of the visitors from
Yes.
UBC.
The largest shutout loss in Canada West history.
And now here's a punt. That will bounce out at about the 52 from Alex Ingraham. Not a good look on that one. No return, and UBC will start with the ball at their own 41. Trey Kellogg back in this game at quarterback. So Meyer obviously not able to go, and UBC not wanting O'Connor on the field. Those two stand together on the sideline, watching on here as former high school quarterback Trey Kellogg goes to work. Nagata to his right. And they'll work from the 49. Pressure coming from Horlack. Kellogg, I think, knew that was coming, and he's going to get sacked here by the Golden Bears.
Yeah, we've seen that look from the Bears a few times. Horlock lines up on the line, and instead of dropping into coverage, he just goes. And this linebacking core for Alberta's had a really strong day, and of course they're working against a third-string quarterback right now. But Horlock definitely disrupted that play for Trey Kellogg.
Now Kellogg will hand this off to Nagata, and Nagata will be stopped significantly short of the first down as it was 2nd and 14. So now it'll be a third down situation here with just over 90 seconds remaining here on CanadaWest.tv. UBC comfortably ahead by 20 points, 41-21. This will push their record to 3-1 with a huge game at home next week against Calgary. The Golden Bears will fall to 0-4, and they will meet up on the road next week against Manitoba. Do we have an update on that Manitoba score? Because Manitoba right now 0-3 as well. Last check, they were leading 8-0 in the second quarter. Doug will try to get us an update on that one.
Let me see if I can get that here.
Been a tough year for Manitoba. They've only scored 58 points and given up 152. Heading into that game today, they were minus 94. The Bears were minus 65 heading into this one.
Sorry, of course, my phone decides to completely refresh just as I'm trying to. Let's take a look here at that score. 15-0 right now, Manitoba leading. And Theo Dizar not playing for Manitoba today. He is not dressed as their starter, or not playing as their starting quarterback.
Well, when you've started with only 58 points through your first 3 games.
Des Catelier into the game, or as the starter for Manitoba. And Noah Picton, 14 for 21, 140 yards and 3 interceptions so far.
That may be among the worst games that Picton has ever had. That would be a tough loss
At
for
home
Regina.
as well.
Here's the kick from Hutchins. That'll come down just inside the 20 and brought right back up the middle, and a little bit of room here for Nathan Rowe. A flag on the field as well on that return. Regina, number 6 in the country right now with a 2-1 record. If they were to fall to 2-2, they drop significantly down and possibly off that list, I would think.
Yeah, you got to think that will change the dynamic a little bit within Canada West. And as I said before, I do think Calgary and UBC are the 2 best teams in Canada West. And I think, again, if Regina loses, then that starts to shift things quite a bit, because Saskatchewan's going to be in tough today against the Calgary Dinos at McMahon Stadium. We're going to get our first look at Brendan Guy, who's going to step into the game. Another player from my former high school.
Brendan Guy, also from Paul Kane.
Of course, when I was there 100 years ago, it was a combined program in St. Albert between the 3 high schools. The St. Albert Storm, who were very good for their brief existence, got to a couple provincial finals, if I remember correctly.
This ball will be handed off to Kolesnikov, and he picks up a first down.
You might not like the uniforms and the colors, very similar to the to North Carolina. So you, as a Duke fan,
no, it's a tie.
That might not do it for you.
I have very little time for the Tar Heels, regardless of the sport: lacrosse, basketball, football.
I haven't checked up on their lacrosse team, but they don't tend to have a great football. Well, Darian Durant was a starting quarterback at North Carolina, so they've had some decent players come through there.
That would have been, what, 20 years ago?
Yeah, probably.
Now here's Kolesnikov. He'll spin his way ahead there. So an opportunity here for the first-year Golden Bear to get in at quarterback, 6'2", 200 pounds. In to hand the ball off for now. We'll see if he gets a pass attempt in.
Well, and it brings up another question, and I don't want to – I'll be careful with this, but we've seen the numbers from Brad Baker. He's a 4th-year quarterback. How long does that experiment continue? At some point, you have to find somebody that you believe can be your guy going forward. And so that, to me, becomes a big question for the last part of this season, because to me, from what we've seen, though there have been flashes, Baker has not shown enough to say, yeah, he's the guy that we are going to make a playoff push for or with next year. I'm not sure he's that guy.
Have we seen that guy in Ben Kopczynski?
Well, I'm not sure we have either. I think that's because I don't know that Kopczynski throws the ball consistently enough. He runs the ball well and can use his feet to open up opportunities. But to me, it becomes a big question for Chris Morris and his team heading forward as to what they want to do.
Now here's Guy, 1 for 1. He's going to throw this one over on the far side of the field. It was almost picked off. That wouldn't have done much for the first-year quarterback's confidence here. But he's getting a chance to throw the ball a little bit downfield.
They're willing to throw it, and that's good.
It'll be 2nd and 10 here as well. Might see him sling one more out there. Just 14 seconds left in this football game. A football game that the Golden Bears, I think, probably for the 2nd time this season, were the better team in the first half of a football game, but managed to somehow be down 9 coming out of it. Now here's Kolesnikov once again up the middle. He's had a couple of good runs in the second half of this football game. And with 8 seconds left here, the Golden Bears will face 3rd down. You make a valid point about the quarterback question, because at some point you need to find a guy that can be a difference maker for you in a positive light. Baker's now had 4 games to do it, and his statistics are among the worst in the nation.
Well, and you look at the teams that are successful right now in Canada West. You've got Michael O'Connor, he's in his 3rd year. Singera, 3rd year, if I remember correctly. Noah Picton, he's a 5th-year guy, but they've had some runway with him in his career. Theo Dizar, another guy too, as things wrap up. So it is a challenge. We can touch on that in a second, but it is a big question I think they have to start to answer.
41-21 the final. UBC at one point trailing in this game 14-7. But from that point on, no problems. Ed Elnicki, 3 touchdowns, an absolutely tremendous day. We'll break down his game for you as well. But once again, Doug, the Golden Bears with an opportunity to really sort of establish themselves early in this football game. And while they did have the lead at one point, they were not able to advance it any further.
No, and you're right. And it's, again, you get to a point where you're the Golden Bears and you're where moral victories don't really matter a whole lot to you anymore. And as Blake Nill holds court here, everyone kind of waiting for him to.
What's he doing?
I'm really not sure. And I won't get into it, but he's waiting. As the two coaches shake hands there. Nonetheless, I mean, moral victories start to not matter a whole lot anymore. But, as much as, we've been a little critical of where Baker's at, I actually don't think this Bears team is that far away from being maybe not in the mix against a UBC and a Calgary consistently, but they are a team, I think, that are close enough to be in the mix playoff-wise. And something right now is holding them back. Their defense played very well today. They've got weapons on offense. Unfortunately, they're losing 3 of them heading into next year, so that's a challenge. But they're not far.
You don't want to sit here and be overly critical of a university athlete.
No.
But maybe this is more just a discussion about the position in general.
Yeah.
And once again, it's not like we're sitting here and being overly critical of some okay numbers. Baker's numbers this year have been brutal.
Yeah,
he would be probably the first to admit it.
Yep.
And Kobzinski has 2 touchdowns and 1 interception on the year in limited action. And his numbers last year were better than what Baker's brought to the table this year for this Alberta team. And I understand that, you have this 4th-year guy who you're very high on, missed an entire season of football with an injury. Looks like a guy who's missed an entire season of football with the injury. And I kind of said off the mic to some of these guys, I say with a quarterback that's even comparable to some of these other ones in Canada West, I think the Golden Bears are actually a good football team. I think they proved it today in a number of different facets of this football game. Ed Olnicki is one of, if not the best running back in the entire country. Their defense today looked significantly better than it did in the first game of the year. Different competition, but at the same time, that's Calgary and UBC.
Yeah.
That's 2 top-level teams in this country. And you've seen a couple of guys emerge on that defense that made some big plays. The offensive line, you can't look at the quarterback situation and say, well, the offensive line aren't giving them time. Because when the offensive line wants to run the ball, we saw it today.
Yeah.
The UBC could not do anything, and they have the second-best rush defense in the country coming into the game today. Couldn't do anything. So the offensive line, and Chris Morris has talked about how he believes his offensive line is one of the best in the country. And watching them, I'm starting to believe in what he says and that they are. So I don't think you can blame the quarterback. It's not like they're the offensive line for the lack of production from the quarterback, because Brad Baker's not running for his life out here today.
No.
Not at all.
Yep.
He had time. A couple of drops. Passing didn't help him today at times as well, and maybe that confidence hurt you. But we saw the first interception we never really got another good look at. It must have been deflected or something, because it was way up in the air, an easy pick there from Malcolm Lee. But, if you want to look at moments that this football game completely fell apart for this team, and they have an opportunity to get a touchdown, and Baker throws an interception, that really wasn't a good throw at all. He didn't give his receiver an opportunity to make a play on that ball. So, and you bring up the question, and here we are 0-4 midway through this season, but it's probably time. You have to do something at the quarterback position, because you're wasting good careers of a few of these guys. You mentioned Ed Olnicki's arguably going to be the best running back the Golden Bears have ever had by the time this season's done, and you've wasted it because you haven't been able to get anything going at the quarterback position, despite having all the pieces around. Nathan Rowe is the leading receiver in the country.
Yep.
Tyler Henry is putting together one of the best careers that we've seen for a receiver in Canada West, and he's done it really without steady quarterbacking. He was here when Dell was here, I believe. Kopczynski, now Baker. There was Schwartz.
Yep.
So he's seen 4 different quarterbacks, and here he is still putting up those numbers. So there comes a point here where we just have to, we've watched a lot of these games, Doug, and at some point you just have to say, if this team had a quarterback, they'd probably be fighting for a playoff spot right now.
I think you're bang on, and I think it's really been a challenge over the last 20 years. Darryl Salmon was a quarterback in those 2 7-1 years. He was very good. They had the weapons. They had receivers. They didn't have an outstanding group of receivers, but they were very good. They had a really good running back in Jared Winkle, so they were able to find that balance. This team right now, and you're bang on. With a running game like this, you don't need your quarterback to be a superstar. He doesn't have to put up 400 yards a game, but he cannot put up 6 for 17 for 98 yards and 2 interceptions.
Yeah. It's impossible. You can't win a football game.
You can't win like that. And like you said, they're student athletes that we don't like to sit here and you do hockey. Well, you do hockey games. I do the auto hockey game. I do basketball. We don't like to do that. They're athletes working on degrees. Like, let's keep this.
And like I said, it's more about the position.
But it is the position. And when you're a quarterback at this level, you have to be able to keep your team competitive. And unfortunately, and it's not all on Brad Baker, the fact they're 0-4. Neither of us are saying that. But when you've got the kind of weapons they have, you cannot have that continue. And I'm not suggesting that they're going to go out and have Brendan Guy be their quarterback for the next 4 games. But I'm saying that probably needs to be part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Because
Kobzinski's a third-year guy. I mean, and you talked about it earlier, a fourth-year guy. I think it was on our broadcast last week in UBC. You were talking about a fourth year. Yeah, it was Siemens.
Right.
Siemens, fourth-year quarterback, taking that next step. Okay, well, Baker's in his 4th year, minus, I guess, a year due to injury, which puts him in a tough spot. But Kobzinski will be a 4th-year guy next year if you haven't been able to recruit anybody else. I mean, does he get another look at that situation? And at the same time, and nothing against Ben because he's a great kid, and I think he's a hell of a football player. I don't know if he's a quarterback, but he's a great football player. At the same time, is that even fair to him to put him back in that position, right? Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting spot for the Golden Bears. They get Manitoba coming up here, and to me that makes it a difficult call because Manitoba's not a good football team this year. I mean, they're playing well today,
they are.
But coming in statistically, they're worse than the Golden Bears this year. So you've got an opportunity here where maybe you go, you know what, Brad, here's another opportunity. If you can't do it against this team and they go to 0-5, then somebody else is going to have to get a look the rest of the way this year because it's just got to be extremely frustrating for everybody. And look, it's not Baker's fault that they gave up a 95-yard return after he managed to help the team get down the field and take a lead. So there are other issues as well, but that's the most glaring one at the most important position that you haven't been able to solve in the last 5 years.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and it seems to be these little mistakes that happen all over the place, the drop passes, the penalties that just come at inopportune times, and they just cannot withstand them. This is not a team that has an ability to get past some of those little challenges. Other good teams, you can deal with situations like that and get through it, but this team right now just can't, and they're 0-4, and you look at their schedule ahead, and they got Manitoba next week, but I mean, you got to find. Are they going to find a way to win a game? That unfortunately again becomes the question.
That's going to do it for us here on CanadaWest.tv. The Golden Bears fall 41-21 to the UBC Thunderbirds. Next up on the road against Manitoba next weekend. For Doug McLean and our crew here, I'm Dustin Nielsen, and have a good night. Thank you for joining us here from Footfield.